The men's soccer season culminates here in Cary, North Carolina with the College Cup. Clemson comes down from South Carolina, take on a familiar foe out of the ACC, Notre Dame in the first semifinal here, the 8th seed versus the 4th seed, the ACC tournament champ of this year versus the ACC tournament champ of last year on one side of the bracket. On the other side, an absolute star-studded affair. It's almost all chalk. The 2 versus 3 game coming up at 8:30, Georgetown and UW, but it's not all 4 top seeds, because Clemson went out to Oregon State and beat Oregon State up in Corvallis. Hey everybody, welcome into Cary, North Carolina. Our booth here alongside Devin Kerr. I'm Dallin Cuff. Devin, it is going to be an absolutely great night here and a great event throughout the course of the weekend. Let's start with this first matchup. This Notre Dame team was picked to finish last in their division in the ACC. They won the tournament. They carry a monster chip on their shoulder, and they're playing last year's champions, who they know them quite well when it comes to Tigers.
I think about what Chad Riley said to us earlier in the season. He wants to be known as a team. He wants to start team players. There's no one individual within this Notre Dame system bigger than the next. That's why they're one of the top seeds in the country. But guess what? Clemson, everybody's doubting Clemson. Do not, because although they lost both their strikers throughout the season, they are still one of the top scoring teams in the nation and should not be looked down upon.
No doubt about it. They went up to Corvallis, beat Oregon State. That was a heck of a win for Mike Newton and his crew. They're back here in the College Cup where they were in 2015. They lost the final, and they have a bunch of studs in this lineup.
And they're great, and we know that. And we've always known that they've had talent. But the fact that they basically changed their entire system as the year has gone on. The reason that they've been able to do it, though, it's not just the second-team players. It's not the first-team players. It's leadership. It's guys like Oscar Grant on the back line, second-team All-American. The goals are nice, but the way that they pivot out of the right back spot, he's held for a lot of responsibility, extremely consistent.
Mac Herman, semifinalist, one of the best players in the country. On Notre Dame side, led by a man that used to captain this club, Chad Riley, and he also has a 2-time first-team All-League player in Jack Lynn and a bunch of other guys around him that can flat-out play.
We knew that they could defend. That has never been a question whatsoever about Notre Dame, but as the year has gone on, they've got better in transitions. They're great as they move forward, and I said no one individual is bigger. It's nice to have some game changers. So when you got a guy like Dawson McCartney, who just about 18 months ago didn't know where his collegiate career was going. He was at Dartmouth. They didn't play because of COVID. Transferred. Chad Riley actually recruited him to play for Big Green. Guess what? One of the most influential players, not just for Notre Dame, but in the ACC. That's your tournament MVP.
He's an absolute game changer. This game and tonight's game are loaded with them. These two teams met back in October. Notre Dame beat Clemson on their field. Kickoff, lineup next. The College Cup is here. For the College Cup semifinal, the first one, Clemson against Notre Dame. Beautiful weather, about 20 degrees warmer than it was last night, 55 degrees here. Pristine conditions. Let's get to Clemson's lineup for Mike Noonan. We've seen it all year, the 4-3-3. You mentioned a little different, though, with the no striker here.
Watch the right back spot, Justin Malou. He'll play really high, and within that rotation, this back line will flatten itself out. But you want to watch the guys in front. I mentioned 5, 6, 7 midfielders, the way that they start to rotate. You'll see 4, you'll see 6. They're all over the place, and it's very difficult to track. But the reason that they've been so stable throughout the season, George Marks, 3rd in wins, 3rd in shutouts, 11th in saves in program history. Not too shabby. The kid is Mr. Consistent. How about for Notre Dame, Chad Riley and the Fighting Irish? No changes whatsoever for the game that got them to the College Cup. It's a bit more traditional. Flat 4-4-2. They'll move quickly in transition, stout defensively, and people might look at the numbers for Brian Brown. Do not disagree with what he does on the field. He's very consistent himself, even though they're great defensively.
Especially in shootouts. They've won 2 in tournament scenarios. He's been huge. We are underway here from Cary, North Carolina. Nikola Lexic is the official in the middle. Clemson in the orange, Notre Dame in the white. Again, these two teams met just 2 months ago, back on October 9th. Notre Dame winning 2-0 on Clemson's field, historic Riggs Field. Good crowd here on hand for both of these programs and the programs coming up later tonight, Washington and Georgetown. And you see Dawson McCartney lining up a long throw. Philip Quinton, number 2 in white, comes forward, the 6'5 center back. This is always a problem for teams to handle the long throws into the box for the Irish. The flick-on header by Jack Lynn, out for a corner.
Let's go. Works now, Malou. Here we go.
McCartney, the transfer from Dartmouth. 7 goals, 5 assists on the campaign, will take the corner. Key for Mike Noonan is dealing with set pieces with this big physical Notre Dame team, and this is their first opportunity to serve one into the box.
Hey, let's go, Quinn. Go, Quinn.
Then comes short, back to McCartney.
Slides it in low, and Lexick will call the foul. And Mike Noonan at the helm again for the Clemson Tigers. This is his 12th season running the program. He's the 2019 ACC Coach of the Year. This is his second trip to the College Cup. He won the semifinal with Clemson back in 15. They fell to Stanford and that great Jordan Morris team in the final. Getting back here was a heck of a mountain to climb, if you will. Last year they were the 1 seed, fell without getting here. The year before that, the 2 seed. What's the key for them to keep advancing in this tournament and get themselves to a final?
They need to take Notre Dame to school and give them a geometry lesson. You know, in the Devon's download, the way that I mentioned they went back to school, right? The shape shifting. They lose both their strikers. They truly had to dismantle their system and showcase themselves in a different manner. So you'll see flat in the midfield, you'll see flat up top. It'll be a triangle. They give you a lot of different shapes and looks to track. And from a defensive standpoint down, that's one of the most difficult things Notre Dame is going to have to face today.
Jack Lynn, 2-time first-team All-ACC performer. Now 30 career goals for the Irish striker. Giveaway to Callum Johnson. This Clemson team can be dangerous in transition. Isaiah Reed brings it under his spell out to Ousmane Sila, the sophomore from Senegal. He strides forward, plays it out to Justin Malou. The right back who was picked 27th overall in the MLS draft last year by Columbus Crew, but agreement that he will stay here and continue his development as he has. The opportunity for Tyler Shea going the other way. He's got Lynn making the run now to his right. Shea's got some space. He'll give it a ride. Off the bar! Still in play! And Marks claims.
This is what happens. Everybody becomes so worried about Jack Lynn, second-team All-American, and Dawson McCartney coming in on the outside. You forget about Shea. He's really asserted himself at that right-winger position as the year has gone on because of the ever-presence that he brings to the outside midfield. Great little cut-in. Well taken from distance.
Junior from Dallas. Almost did exactly what Dawson McCartney did on the same goal in the same building here for the ACC final against Duke. We showed you in the open. McCartney lasered one from 26 yards out, put him up 1-0 5 minutes in. They beat Duke 2-0. It's almost the same thing replayed here. Sila with his beautiful quick feet lays it off to Isaiah Reed. Reed trying to get some space. Crowded out. And on Notre Dame's side, what are you looking for, Devin, here as a key for the branded segment, Devin's download?
It's just about stability for Notre Dame. It's really been the key for them all year long. I made reference earlier that there's no one player that's bigger than the entire system, and that's 100% correct. You hear that from coaches, right? Like, no one's bigger than the team. That's truly the most effective thing about them. Everybody's willing to fight for the next position on the field. If there's a mistake, they don't complain, they don't moan, they don't point fingers. They get back, they help each other out, and they provide a lot of numbers when they start to move forward. It was a good representation of it.
Right now, drawing the foul there is Matt Rue, a freshman that's been outstanding. Chad Riley, coaching for his alma mater, gave him their first ever ACC championship. This is his first trip to the College Cup. They hoisted this trophy back in 2013 under the great Bobby Clark, who will be ever present in this College Cup tournament. We'll talk more about the legend Bobby Clark as a coach and a player later on. But now we have an opportunity for Notre Dame possibly put another one on frame or put one into the box. Again, Quentin, number 2, comes forward, 29. Muhammad Omar, the big center midfielders in the mix as well there. You think they go for goal or try to clip one in?
Dawson McCartney left foot all day long. Right. That's the easiest method to go by right here, and the way that he can bend this, get it around the wall.
Ethan O'Brien flipped it back post, and looking for Patty Burns, the left back. You don't hit every shot.
You don't put in the parking lot either. It's not the best effort from distance there for the Fighting Irish.
The Fighting Irish, we've had a lot of their games this year, Devin. And take a look at the first 5 games. They were 1-3-1, allowed 11 goals. We saw them cede a 3-1 lead to Michigan State, losing 4-3 at home. Last 15, they've just been unbelievable. And they've been outstanding. They lost the game to UNC. Obviously 3-1 just about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. But since then, they've rattled off win after win. 6 straight scoreless games here in tournament play. They finally conceded a goal against Pitt in their quarterfinal matchup. It's just been an amazing turnaround for this team.
The identity has finally cemented itself, right? Remember earlier this season, you mentioned the Michigan State game. You and I came out of that and go, they're in trouble. They've got a problem because they had injuries in the midfield. There was questions as to what right back spot was going to look like because Jacobello kept moving him into the inside because of those injuries. So with all the influx of what was going on, it was very difficult to get that stability within the system. But funny how it works. You get people healthy, you start to show regular lineups, people start to believe in what's being put in front of you by Chad Riley, and you start to turn out results.
And they beat a Pitt team 3 times. It was been, many would say, one of the most talented teams in the country. Beat him in the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament. But here's Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador, the senior from Ecuador, tried to pop it out wide to Charlie Asensio, falls to Quinn McNeil. His pass left short, Jacobello picks it off. Still Jacobello. And McNeil crowds him out and turns it over out to Malou. Alvaro Gomez on the ball, the senior from Toledo, Spain.
Already, I mentioned how you're going to see a lot of different looks. Look at Usman Sila dropping down into the pocket. He was really high to start the game. Callum Johnson was down in. Now he's onto the front line. It's very difficult, Dallin, to understand where the threat is going to come from. Conversation with Mike Noonan, I said, would you have ever known?
Matt Rue, a big turnover here. Opportunity, 1v1 against Oscar Ogren. Lays it off to Lynn. Lynn's touch let him down. Did you hit that first time?
Getting cut back across too. That's difficult. You've got numbers and you feel like you can win that battle. You can't make the argument if he doesn't pull the trigger at the same time. The support is right there for it. And Sutton, would you have ever said that you were going to be here? Yes. I believed in our guys and what we were capable of, but this was a team earlier this season, you could pen it in. 4-3-3, knew where the threats were going to come from. You had your big striker up top, overlapping runs into the channel. Now, when you watch them on tape, it is very difficult to pinpoint where the threats are going to come from. It's left, it's right, they go direct, they press, they back off. They give you so many different looks, and so for Notre Dame, this is a very different team than what they faced in October.
And Mike Noonan, for both teams, he said Notre Dame's the same pretty much, but they do it better, faster, stronger, more confident. And they obviously, as we said before, beat them on their field. If you're Notre Dame, then how difficult is it to handle when they're changing all the time and they're shape-shifting and whatnot? How hard is that to handle for the midfield and the defenders?
As a player, especially having seen them in a different light, you're going to think, okay, this was the tendency then. But knowing how good they are in preparation for their games and what Chad Riley puts in front of them, they'll know that there's still tendencies. Like, we've gotten to the point of the season, and you know this very well, there's no secrets. There's no smoking gun that's going to come out and go, oh, we're coming this way, we're going to attack over
conference
here.
Opponents.
Bingo. So the fact that they've already seen each other, you know where the changes come from, the sample size. You're 7 games running right now without a starting number 9. So you're going to get a Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador rotating out of the middle. You understand that Sila is going to be all over the pitch. This is just down to communication for Notre Dame. You don't have to worry about one singular player, which is kind of nice, but at the same point in time, worrying about all of them just comes down to be able to talk to the guy next to you, pass players on, and trust in that belief.
Blue on the ball, all freshman team in the ACC, back to Ethan O'Brien.
Inside working, right below.
Okay.
Inside.
Working against Charlie Asensio. Eats Asensio. Gonna get end line. Can he serve it in? He does. Marks is there.
Tyler Shea, have yourself a game already. Well done on the right-hand side. Look at the confidence. One-on-one. See the hips? Close the hips off to the inside. When he cuts back across, he knows that he owns that situation. Really well done by the midfielder. Little crossover. As soon as he squares up, you own it. Touchdown to the byline, cross it back in.
Foul called there on Jack Lynn as he was pressing against Quinn McNeil. Nicole Alexic says how many Diop has to stop the ball before he plays, so comes back to Diop's feet to retake the free kick. Oscar Ogren steps forward. Diop. Great ball played out to Pipe. Felipe Fernandez Salvador, known as Pipe! And it's in the back of the net! He puts him up 1-0! He gave the penalty to get here and beat Oregon State, and now he puts him up 1-0 in the College Cup semifinal.
As mentioned, you don't know where the threats are going to come from, but the problem is there's still multiple. It's on the back end of that because of the fact that there is no 9. In reshaping this system, they come from all over. Midfielder on the inside, you get rotation from the out, but defensively for Notre Dame, you got to step in here. Very rarely do you see Mo Omar, their holding midfielder, miss a tackle in this fashion, and then look at the space. Philip Quinton doesn't step up, 25 yards out, but this is easy pickings for the number 10.
What a rocket from the senior from Ecuador. We've said it earlier today in talking with Coach Noonan and just talking amongst ourselves. Pipe has scored so many big goals for them. Number of game-winning goals in critical games. Last year against Wake Forest. I just mentioned the Oregon State game. That was an equalizer, but now they could look for more. Isaiah Reed, 1v1 against Josh Ramsey. The freshman stands tall. This is a Notre Dame team again. That's the second goal conceded in the last 8 matches. And this is a team. Phil Quinton told us yesterday, their center back, saying, "Hey, we're going to be resolved. We're going to be resolved. We're going to have resolve in the back. We're not going to concede. But if we do, we're going to bounce back right away. Keep our head up." Easy to say in practice. How hard is that to do 11 minutes into the game in this stage?
You're about to find out.
Yeah.
No, but the other side of that is from a tactical standpoint. Look, you want the confidence to step up right away from Notre Dame. If you could pick one area that would be of concern, because it's more of a traditional shape for the Fighting Irish, in this flat 4-4-2, it's right in front of the center backs, and it's just underneath the strikers. So you build through the 6, and you're holding midfielder if you're Clemson. At the same point in time, you get one of those 9s or false 9s to drop down in, which they frequently do. And that was a good look at it, where, notice, Luis Felipe Fernandez-Salvador, he didn't overstep himself. He let the play develop in front of him, and even though it comes off a mistimed tackle by Mo Omar, if you would have stepped in there earlier, that space is closed down because that would have allowed the back line to come out at him. Instead, bided his time, good little touch after the tackle, and then you just pull the trigger.
His 11th career goal, 8th of this campaign, coming at a huge time. Nice touch there by McCartney. Keep it in play. This is a Clemson team, and Pipe was on a lot of he played a lot of minutes in these teams that suffered heartbreak. You know, losing when they were the #1 seed last year to Marshall in the second round of the NCAA tournament. The year before that as a 2 seed, not making it to the College Cup, but getting to this point now and find themselves up a goal early against a tough Notre Dame team. That's the earliest goal that Notre Dame has allowed since the UNC game that, Devin, you and I did, where UNC scored 2 goals in the first 3 minutes of the game. And they were shell-shocked. That was their only loss in the last 3 months. But this was, you know, it obviously is a different situation. That was on the road. They looked a little shook. Those were mistakes. This was a great play by Pipe.
You can't take it away from him. And what did Chad Riley say to us, too? Just got to let the boys go out and compete.
Yeah.
I would say the saving grace here is you're 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of time in the game. And for a squad that doesn't easily get rattled in Notre Dame, don't expect them to not have a response there. They'll get back on track, although they are chasing a lot right now. It's very uncustomary for the Fighting Irish.
Pipe's pass off to Charlie Asensio. Taking a look at that goal. It was a beauty, to say the least.
There's that step again. Watch 10. Just waits. Little cut back across. Again, if he goes into that space earlier, it's going to have more white jerseys around him. Instead, he's slow to get into it, feels the presence, simple cut back across, and then 10 yards. The world's your oyster. Do whatever you want.
Omar's pass goes out of bounds. The senior from Canada, Mo Omar's been a critical guy in the midfield for years for this Notre Dame team. He told us yesterday, Devin, that after a horrible spring season, they are on the field at Notre Dame in Alumni Stadium. He has a broken foot. He was worried about him. He was worried about getting himself healthy, but he said that was a turning point. We all sat there and kind of committed to each other, committed ourselves that, hey, we got more talent than this. We're better than this. Well, nobody thought that. And they were picked last in their division, in the Coastal Division, 6th in the ACC. They win the conference. They find themselves with playing 4 games, too, because UNC lost. They fell to the 5 seed. And that day, he said, was a turning point for this team that long ago, 7 months ago.
One of the great things about that is not only do you find that brotherhood, you get results out of it. The problem that comes with it on the back end is that belief that maybe this team isn't as good as people think they are. That's probably gone by now. You beat Pitt, what most people, myself included, regard as one of the better teams in the country 3 times, including at Pitt, which just never happens, right? All of a sudden, everybody's looking around going, I think we need to pay some more attention to this Chad Riley squad.
They've got everybody's attention. They do have a deficit now, though. Gomez over to Malou. He tries to drive it in, goes out for a throw. Knocked long to George Marks. Gives us a chance to tell you about some hoops coming up on Saturday. 3:15 Eastern, we start Kansas taking on Missouri. 3:15 because at 3 o'clock we were playing that Jimmy V speech. It is V week. Give it a listen. If you haven't heard it, it is one of the most inspirational, emotional speeches you'll ever hear. 3:15 Eastern, that's it. Allen Fieldhouse. Then old rivals square off in South Bend. Number 10 Kentucky taking on Notre Dame. They've split the last 6 matchups dating back to 04. Both games on ESPN. One app, one tap. In terms of the Notre Dame game, too, my man, LaFonso Ellis will have his jersey retired in the Ring of Honor. Congratulations to Fonz. And hopefully Notre Dame can send him out with a big win over a number 10 ranked Kentucky team. McNeil finding Seal a little pocket of space. Good turn and good touch. Malou's got some room, and he's got runners in front. What does Malou do? Skips past Patty Burns, clips it in, but that's wayward.
Do that on purpose? Skip to Malou?
No, and I'm so slow that I didn't realize I did that. How about that?
He's not. He's quick, man.
Yep.
He is just brute physical power up and down that right wing. Justin Malou. Drafted by the Columbus Crew. Still have a question actually seeing him at the center back spot too, where he's better. That's kind of scary of Caleb Porter and these guys will have at the next level for him. He plays an extremely high line and the engine on the kid just never stops. Top tier speed, great vision. Doesn't invert as much as you might think from some other outside backs, the way that this team rotates, which you do get in certain systems. But what you do get out of it is the ability for other players, since he holds that line, that allows someone like an Isaiah Reed, if Usman Sila drifts out there, they can come back to the inside and have the comfort knowing that even though their outside backs are really high, they've still got coverage out there.
He moved back to the outside back this fall. Last fall and the year before that, he played in the center back spot. Before this man, Hamidi Diop, the Senegal sophomore, one of his countrymen, Malou, came over and his talent pushed Malou back out to the right. He's been outstanding. Turnover by Sila, maybe an opportunity. Lynn trying to get forward. Oscar Ogren singled up 1v1. 2 first-team All-League players. Ogren wins that battle. Patty Burns floats it back post, nobody home. Lou and Asensio in a battle. Asensio gets it out to touch.
Hey, let's go! Wait in front of him. 27. Malou, get out. Run, Malou. Run, Malou. Malou! Wait. Squeeze.
Long throw again. As we said, you'll see a lot of that. McCartney has a chance to serve it back up. Shea got his head on it, couldn't direct it properly. Rolls out. Mentioned Oscar Ogren, the captain of this Clemson team, the junior. Interesting story. He got to Clemson because his father, Per, played with Coach Mike Noonan over in Sweden. When Noonan went over there in the mid-'80s, NASL had just shut down. He goes over to play and is trying to work his way into the Malmo club, which is one of the premier club, really, in Sweden. And they didn't really work out there, but they became very close friends. And Ogren was able to be part of that academy too, then got cut. And Noonan said, hey, he's going to develop just like his dad. Come back to that in a second. And Shea may have an opportunity. Shot deflected. He said his dad was a late bloomer. He'll be a late bloomer. I want him over at Clemson. He had the inside track. This young man was a first team, is an all-ACC freshman team, second team all-ACC. Now he's an all-American, first team all-ACC, Mac Herman semifinalist. That is talent identification, recruitment, and using every opportunity you have to get a great player.
A lot of the coaches, not just within the NCAAs, but at the next level, look at him as one of the best center backs in the entire country. And I had 2 big takeaways from that conversation, by the way. One, his physical power, that development side of it, because he's gotten bigger, he's gotten taller, he maintains that presence. When you're matched up against someone like Jack Lynn, that's what you need. To develop that late doesn't happen for everybody, but to your point, he's got good genes. My second takeaway was, I got to listen to you more, because apparently you've told that story before and I didn't hear it.
You don't call every game with me, so maybe it was somebody else. But yes, his father, Per, ended up playing and was great at Malmo, was the director of the team, of the club there for a number of years. They actually just fell out of their group in the Champions League and are not part of the Europa League either. Big collision in the middle, yeah. Rue is slow to get up, but he's working his way back to his feet. And Omar pings it out wide as Rue strides forward. McCartney on it. now has room. He might take a shot. He does! Oh, off the post again! Rue has a chance. Was he taken down? He was! Alexic points to the spot. Two shootouts Notre Dame's gone to in the postseason. They are 7 for 7 from the spot, and here's how they got there.
One of the issues they've run into in their build is Ethan O'Brien and Mo Omar. As you pivot one in front, you run into a spacing issue, which Clemson has been able to handle pretty impressively. So instead, you get your outside midfielder, go one-on-one, really similar to A, what we saw from Tyler Shea early on in this game, and B, Dawson McCartney and his moves in the ACC final. And that cut back across, great strike. George Marks gets a little help, but he's going to lead a not more from 12 yards out right now.
Jack Lynn to step to the spot, the senior. 30 goals in his career, 2 for 2 from the spot on the year. Hamady Diop committed the foul to set up this penalty. And sophomores had an issue with that throughout this year. Can Lynn capitalize against George Marks, another senior? 2 all-league players in the ACC. Lynn wins! Just enough power on it, past the outstretched hand of George Marks, and we are locked up at 1-all.
You go all the way back to the initial challenge. Watch coming back through. Everybody up top for Notre Dame. They don't sit and ball watch, they get right back to it. Very well done by the freshman Matt Rue. Cut back across, it's a pen, an opportunity. And how calm is this kid? Jack Lynn just scores goals in any which way that he can. A lot of pace as he hits this with his instep to beat the extremely talented George Marks. You wanted a response? You got it.
10th goal of the campaign, 31st of his career. He's the 12th Notre Dame player to go 30-plus goals. And Hamady Diop says, I'm okay, I got it. The sophomore from Senegal. He's a very talented young man, but he's committed a number of these fouls in different games. The Duke game comes to mind where he got a red card and gave up 2 penalties. Obviously here, he's going to have to shake that off and move forward. You were center back. What is that feeling like? Not to make you relive nightmares.
I appreciate it. Thank you. You want to sort of quiver up underneath the rock, right? Because you hope nobody saw it. But it's a really difficult position for him to be in. Because even if he doesn't win that tackle, there's another Notre Dame player there. So it forces your hand to step in and go, I got to go win this. Mentally, you see yourself on the wrong side of a 2v1 going, I got to go win this tackle. I'll do whatever it takes. He didn't really have to be honest. In that situation, you keep him in front and push to the outside. Instead, you get yourself into trouble. And to your point, we've seen that a couple of times this season where he's forced his hand and he didn't need to.
See Clemson's response now. Ball goes out to touch. Quick break in the action. More great soccer coming your way. 26th MLS Cup played tomorrow, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app. Portland Timbers taking on New York City FC at Providence Park, one of the best venues in our country. Portland took down RSL Saturday night to advance to their 3rd cup in 7 years. And New York City FC beat Philly to get to their first ever cup for the relatively new, still less than a decade old program there in New York City. Gonna be a great game.
They don't really know anything but success, though, do they? So they don't have a title yet, but they've been right there every single year. I will tell you, just to put a bow on that entire thing with Hamady Diop, still extremely talented, but if I'm one of the guys wearing a white jersey right now for Notre Dame, I'm going right at him. His confidence is going to be shook because of the fact that he just gave that up. You know, there was a great start from Clemson. They're out 1-0, they're flying, and those are the types of mistakes, though, that remove the goal. It allows a team to get back into a game. So it's great now that it's 1-1. I'm running right at the center back, trying to push him to his limits.
Asensio brings it down nicely. Clemson band has arrived and starting to play. Great crowd, great hosts here at Cary, North Carolina, as always. Crossing the bottom of the hour alongside Devin Kerr on Gallon Cup. College Cup, Nick Alexic takes the shot. Doesn't stop play, allows him to play on. This may create a chance. Here from Cary, North Carolina, the first semifinal. Clemson and Notre Dame. These two teams met back on October 9th in South Carolina. Notre Dame took them down 2-0. Coming up later tonight, 8:30 Eastern, you will have Washington taking on Georgetown. That's the 2 and the 3 seeds in this tournament with history. Georgetown beat Washington back in the 2019 quarterfinals en route to winning the College Cup. the first time in program history. Let's take a look back at that game and preview what we're going to see here tonight in our second matchup, the halftime of this one. But it's been a great first half so far, 24 minutes in.
Clemson changing their shape again. More to a double pivot in the midfield. They've moved Alvaro Gomez just to the right a little bit more alongside Quinn McNeil. Allow those two guys to get on the ball more than we saw the past couple of minutes as Notre Dame has got back into this game.
Opportunity here. Callum Johnson in the back post. Jacobello just got enough on it. Charlie Asensio tried to bring it into Sela. Couldn't connect. Gomez. Combination play between Sela and Johnson. Sela loves operating in tight spaces. Almost got it to the feet of Reed where he could turn and shoot.
Frenemies.
Yes, goal scorer. Felipe Fernandez Salvador and Mohamed Omar exchanging some pleasantries. His 11th minute goal put him up 1-0, and then Jack Lynn's penalty in the 21st minute equalized. And Nikola Alexic, we have an issue. George Marks, the goalkeeper, down on one knee. And as you mentioned earlier in the show, he's third all-time in wins and shutouts in the history of Clemson's program. He wears the armband for him. Makes so many big saves and really anchors that back line. Don't want to see this, period. Especially, though, if you are a Clemson fan or Mike Newman.
Just point to that upper hip area, hip flexor. Sometimes these guys playing out of the back, and he's really good with his feet, by the way. Tweak things a little bit, and the fact that they've already got reinforcements up and moving. Question would be is which direction do you want to go here? Is off the ball, we didn't really catch anything in the run of play.
Trevor Mannion, the sophomore, is up and warming up, as you just saw, getting loose. Yeah, he has not played. Mannion did not play a game this year, but he did play last year in that loss to Marshall, or I should say when they did not advance on penalties. He was subbed in to be the penalty goalkeeper. Made some saves, but not enough in the end, as there were some misses by the Tigers. He's not played a game since then. You take that back. He's played 14 minutes this season. Pardon me. .38 total minutes in his career as the sophomore. But you see Marks here up. We'll see if he can continue to go. So last time he fielded a ball, last time he hit the deck here, this is Marks on the PK.
Don't really see him come up lane, do you? It's frustrating that he doesn't get to it. No real movements that would really be any sort of cause for concern if you were Noonan on the sideline.
We'll keep an eye on him, no doubt.
With the defensive line that they've played in this game, keeping that high, you definitely not just want to keep an eye on what he's capable of, but he tracks really high playing off his feet. You'll find him 30, 35 yards from net at certain points in time.
So Matt Rue subbing out for Daniel Russo, the sophomore coming in, New York Red Bull Academy product. Russo is. And Elton Chifamba comes on for Alvaro Gomez. Gomez had the game winner against Kentucky in their third round matchup. Chifamba's a freshman from Ohio, part of the Columbus Crew Academy setup.
Number 11, Daniel Russo. He replaces number 71, Matthew Rue.
Russo gets his first touches. Clemson band is playing the Eye of the Tiger. I feel like they should be playing the Karate Kid song when Russo gets in there. I know it's not their thing. Daniel LaRusso's going to fight! Had to get it out of the way.
No,
I'm just gonna.
Why would you stop now?
I'm gonna do it. Subconsciously, it's gonna come out at some point. I may as well lean into it.
What are the odds these, either the people in the band or the guys in the field, have actually seen the original?
If Daniel Russo has not seen, a.k.a. La Russo to me, has not seen Karate Kid,
Problems.
we have to rectify this immediately. They have an off day tomorrow. I think I might have to request that Chad Riley give a viewing if they win the game. I'm sure they've seen Cobra Kai, though. Netflix. It's phenomenal. At least the first season. Ethan O'Brien back out to Patty Burns. The feet of Lynn. Omar.
Let's see what Notre Dame do with this, because when we've seen the subs from Clemson in the past, specifically Chifambo coming onto the field, I mentioned everybody has tendencies, right? And they still attack in a lot of different areas, but what ends up happening here is he'll sit alone by himself, but they also turn the midfield into this 2-2-2 stack. So 2 holding midfielders on the inside, they bring another 2 midfielders a little bit wider, and then your 2 strikers pinch in a little bit more. It's actually quite similar to the system that the Philadelphia Union started to employ back in 2019. What ends up happening is a lot more space on the inside. That benefits guys like Mo Omar, Ethan O'Brien, and then the cut-ins that we've seen opening 20-25 minutes from the 2 outside mids for Notre Dame.
Harding takes it quick. Lynn might be there. It falls. Omar's there, but whistle is blown. Contact there. A foul called on Philip Quinton. His bodies were strewn about. 6th foul of the match for the Irish.
Oh, Omar was licking his chops on this one. Big target all the way on the backside. A lot of times you'll see the Irish, either from set-piece situations or dead balls down in the corner, they like to work the near post. But when you have that much height, you'd be crazy not to ping one up over and let someone like a Quinton or an Omar run underneath it, even just for a redirect, because now you're challenging the defensive shape of Clemson. A lot harder to track something on that ball coming back across.
If you're just joining us here in Cary, North Carolina, the College Cup, Devin Kerr, Dallin Cuff. Here you see the goal scorers. Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador, the senior from Ecuador, put the Tigers up 1-0. And the Irish came back with a penalty from Jack Lynn that Matt Rue drew. And Hamidi Diop, the man that's running onto the ball, took down Rue in the box. A couple more subs getting ready to come on here. For Notre Dame, Reese Meyer will join the fray for Ethan O'Brien, the junior from Baltimore. And on the other side, Tim Strobeck will come in for Isaiah Reed. Strobeck, a talented freshman from Hasselholm, Sweden, grew up in that academy. Division II club in Sweden. He actually had an offer for Serie C, the 3rd division in Italy, before this season. Chose to refuse that and come to the States and ply his trade here for Mike Newton and the Tigers. Chifambo looking for Asensio, turns it over.
Offside indicated against Clemson.
Coverage of the NCAA Championships continues. Men's College Cup Final Sunday, December 12th, 2 p.m. Eastern here on ESPNU. For more information of the NCAA Women's College Cup, log on to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. Florida State's women, Mark Krikorian's crew, took that down here last week in penalties. Big win for them, and 3rd time in 8 years the FSU ladies have hoisted the College Cup trophy. Strobeck, his first foray, touches on to Callum Johnson, a super senior. Transfer from BC, part of the New York Red Bulls Academy. 3 years there, injured. 1 of the years with a hip injury, eventually transferred here to Clemson and made a big impact. Pinged out wide to Malou. First time attempt by McNeil. Good turn. Diop head up. Too much on. All-league, second-team all-league player. Hamidi Diop, freshman year. He was at the spring season. He couldn't get over here in the fall last year because of COVID. He and Ousmane Sila could not get out of Senegal and get to Clemson. So Diop now is an all-ACC freshman team last spring, second-team all-league player this year. I mean, maybe not his best day so far. As Mateo Acosta comes in the match for Tyler Shea. Acosta, a freshman from Skokie, Illinois, at Chicago Fire Academy. Doesn't get a lot of minutes.
Hey, Brian! Jenny here!
Pardon me, Kyle Genenbacher. I can read numbers at some point in time. I was told there'd be no math, but I should be able to read numbers, right? Not good at it. Genenbacher, also a freshman from Farmington, Missouri.
Chad Riley's just trying to find a way to get some hold-up play up top and get more guys on the ball. They don't mind chasing, but this is a bit more than they're used to. Unbalanced within their shape so far. Really good job by the two guys up top, Strobeck and Callan Johnson. They are working. They are challenging the two center backs to pretty much man mark at this point in time. And so you get a lot of midfielders going after Mo Omar, and a little slide over by Reese Mayer. I told you, they get 5-6 guys in the middle. It's hard to track.
Ooh, plays it low. Tapipe get there. He cannot. Shouldered off by Ramsey. Freshman, savvy. Josh Ramsey, freshman from Plano, Texas. Part of the preliminary U17 World Cup roster a couple years back. Notre Dame's got a couple great freshmen, man. Genenbacher was tough about him coming in, but Ramsey's been a stalwart back there. 22 starts in 23 matches. You see Eno Ento from Derby County, a championship club over in England. He's got 5 goals in the campaign. His minutes have dwindled as they've gone on this run, but he's a talented freshman. And Matt Rue, we've already mentioned, he was all ACC freshman team. 7 goals, 5 helpers, tied for the team lead. Really impactful young group with a bunch of great upperclassmen as well.
A lot of the guys already have the pedigree coming from their academy level. And Matt Rue's academy team just won the USL Academy final. And I kind of asked Kiki Wallace, their coach, about it, and he said, yeah, we miss him. Got a lot of talent, but we definitely miss him. And, you know, a player that can immediately step in, got that mental focus alongside someone like a Jack Lynn who has really been the guiding light for this Notre Dame offense ever since he stepped onto campus. It's not easy. When you're used to being the guy within a team and you have to share that load, that's a very difficult thing to do. But that feeds into what Chad Riley talks about. We don't want individuals. We want guys that are willing to work more than maybe they've been used to, that maybe their numbers aren't going to be as high. But the success on the other side, you're going to reap the rewards in that area.
Lynn had nothing to praise from Rue, too. He said he's a great young player. Plays on both sides of the ball. His defensively, he's great at nicking that ball and causing turnovers in their own opponent's defensive third. Obviously good at goal scoring, great knack for the ball, great movement. So Lynn praised him, and they've had a great partnership. And also Russo when he comes in 11. Those three have been a great triumvirate. And Mohamed Said joining the fray. The big number 9, a true number 9. You see that big knee brace on him, though. After the Syracuse game about 7 weeks ago, he picked up an injury and has been able to only do spot minutes. This young man out of Spain, 16 career goals. He's had big goals in big games. He might have an opportunity here. They collide in the box. Strobeck and Say. Still men in the box. McNeil will try to clip it in. Say, he gets a head on it, deflected out, though. Good pass to Strobeck on the doorstep. And a foul called on Strobeck going for that, but Say making his presence felt a little right away.
A little surprised that Say doesn't try and go in alone here as this ball redirects back across and it falls in front of him. Watch the second 50-50. It's a really good job by Clemson not getting rattled here. Notice tons of numbers forward. They're patient as they rework it back through. The second ball that comes in, when he pokes this back across, I thought he was going to hit that right there. Left-footed, bottom corner. Instead, unselfish, grabs a trailing runner. Good recovery by Notre Dame defensively.
Say it's 6'3", physical frame, as you can see, but he's got really good feet. Valencia, Spain is where he grew up in academies locally there, and he's able to play with his feet and play off of guys when healthy. But right now, he's been a shell of himself, admittedly so by himself and the coaching staff, that he's playing with his knee injury. He's playing through it, but he's a very different guy.
Let's see how they play through him, because traditionally he's that focal piece in the middle. I mentioned how they've changed over the year. This was a very traditional 4-3-3, right? You had that single man up top in the 9, 2 guys dropped underneath him that helped out on the flanks. But when he can't run as much and move in transition, they'll probably try and play off of him a lot more. Those pockets just in front of the back line that I mentioned about 25 minutes into this game, though, still quite lucrative for the Tigers to step into. And it's much easier when you have a target man of that fashion.
Michael Pellegrino checks in the game for Dawson McCartney. Pellegrino, a junior, came up in the Philadelphia Union Academy. Clever with the ball at his feet. George Marks has the ball at his feet now. Still a little gimpy when he got rid of that. Remember, he was being stretched out earlier. See some attention.
It's a minutes play for Chad Riley with Pellegrino outside on that flank. Trying to find.
What do you mean a minutes play?
Yeah, he's a central located player that hasn't really been healthy all season long. Started the season slow because of his injuries, and as they've got him back in, O'Brien has just been so good. You can't take him off the field, so you push him on the outside. You're just trying to play through him, more possession, get some guys some rest.
Might find Philip Quinton's head, almost did, and there was some contact as Quinton's holding his head as he runs back, and Hamid Diop is down on the deck.
Now indicated against the Irish.
Omar making a little contact with Diop's side there. He's okay, back up, Marks on the ball.
You can tell the way that he's pinging the ball that George Marks, he's feeling it a little bit, not in a good way.
He's thinking the exact same thing, watching that float up in the air.
I mentioned how quick they are to push Justin Malou far on that right-hand side. That's because they trust that man right there, George Marks, so much with the ball at his feet. You could play 5, 10, 15 yards in front to either one of your center backs, but a lot of times you'll see him put his laces through it, hit that 30-yard diag, stretch the opposing team shape, and start the attack. Every single time since he's gone down lane, that ball just kind of holds up, gets underneath it, not able to drive through the ball.
Great tackle by Malou, and then he releases Sila. Plays Say. Sila continues his run. Got Pipe, the goal scorer, in tons of space. He turns. McNeil. Strobeck. Winds up, deflected by Gennenbacher. Strobeck goes in hard. Will we see our first card of the day? Nikola Alexic says, hold on a second. Might have a talking to, but maybe no card brandish. No card coming. Just a word for Strobeck.
It's good ball movement, though, and there's a late trailing run from Charlie Asensio on this left-hand flank. Strobeck didn't see him over the shoulder, so he was slow to recognize that if he brought his run to the inside, he could easily step on it when played into him or allow that ball to be played down into the channel.
Foul going to be called on Mo Omar. Wondering what he did. Should this have been a handball call as Strobeck wound up?
There was two. I thought that one was definitely a handball with his arm extended away from the body. The second one's harder, right, because it's much closer. And everybody on the field was pointing for it.
Yep.
Referee was in a good spot, too. Just missed that one. I'll give him one.
I'm sure we'll have some thoughts on the refereeing later. Why we usually are. Maybe not. Hey, we've got a good start here.
Well, the problem for me is now I've been fortunate enough to make friends with the head assessor and the head of referees, so I know he's listening, I know he's watching. I also got to make sure that I'm still on the Christmas card list when we get done with this game.
No! You're just openly compromising your objectivity for a Christmas card?
It's a good picture.
Yikes. Strobeck.
know me, I won't back off.
Allison's right next to me, dude.
Not that I want to be hard on referees, but let's be objective here. Omar, head up. Lays it off to Genenbacher. Jacobello, excuse me.
I've been very impressed defensively on the recovery from Clemson Tigers so far. We can say whatever we want about being the number 8 scoring team in the country and how they've changed their vision going forward. You cannot take away from what these guys on the back line have been able to do all season long, but specifically in this game, they have, for the most part, shut Jack Lynn down. He's been very quiet, and the small movements you have seen, they've been isolated individual mistakes from the outside mids cutting in, not communicating, not passing the player off. That's not a system thing.
Pass found its way to Asensio. Chifumba drives it out to Malou. Big plays it to Say. Say just pushed off the ball. I think that's where you see it more than anything else. He's physically imposing, but he's so easily moved. It's like he's playing on one leg. Oh, Omar goes over the top. No call made. Bumble forces a turnover, though. Sela, 1v1 with Jacobello. Maybe to turn the corner. Whoa, swing and a miss by Philip Quinton. Almost was an opportunity. McNeil checks the space around him. He's going to shoot it. High. Boy, their second shot of the half. That ties the lowest output in this season and a half. Take a look.
Watch the challenges. This is actually foul on Omar because his momentum carries him over Pipe. You got to go straight up here if you want to try and win it. And there's that space again on the cutback across. No, yeah, it's a miss by Quinton, but on the clearance, watch how slow Notre Dame is quick, or isn't as quick to step off their line. They don't reset as fast. Defensively, they're always so good at picking up where the marks are going to come from, the physical battles, and if you can't win the first or the second, they're always there for the third and the fourth. We haven't seen that here in the first half. A lot of times they lose that first challenge. Possession is picked up by Clemson, and then they're dictating the play on their own terms.
Ryan Silver just checked in for Jack Lynn, senior from Virginia. And this may be an opportunity. Under 30 seconds, Patty Burns looking to play it in. Burns floats it in, looking for Quinton as always, a 6'5" center back. Silver tries to play it down, does not come off, but there'll be a corner now. As we tick down, they're going to have an opportunity. Coming to the half, we'll look forward to Georgetown, Washington. And we'll talk about the V-Week and how impactful it's been on the pitch as well. Opportunity maybe, low ball driven in. Strobeck now, we'll give it one more ride, but the clock's going to expire. Your thoughts, Devin, on the first half, 1-1 after 45.
The scoreline's not going to show it. Clemson was the better team here. They were the better start. They've been on the ball more. But funny how that plays out. They weren't very threatening on the offensive side of the ball. So it doesn't matter where you do it. It's what you do with it. Take all the possession in the world. Notre Dame will say that. They have struggled defensively with the shape. They're having trouble tracking all the runners. But Chad Riley, he is one of the best at coming out of halftime and saying, guys, this is where we're getting beaten. Getting his guys to understand where those presences are coming from Clemson Tigers, making changes to be successful.
Coach Mike Noonan now joins us. Coach, appreciate your time. 1-1 after the first 45. How would you assess it?
I think it's a pretty even game. Obviously, they equalized. We didn't get tight enough on the first shot, but I think it's pretty even. I think when we can control possession of the ball and not get impatient, we're controlling much of the game.
Coach, we saw George Marks go down right around the 25-30 minute mark. What's his status right now as you go into the dressing room?
I don't know. The trainer says he can play, so he can play.
He's in there. Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Marks is still in there right now, and this all to play for. 1-1 at the break. The sledgehammer's been good luck for Clemson all year. Will that continue? We'll find out in the second 45. We come back, they'll preview tonight's second semifinal, the 2 versus the 3 seed, Washington against G-Town. Coming up next. Knotted up at 1 between Clemson and Notre Dame. Start of the second half about to kick off in just a second. Coach Chad Riley joins us now from Notre Dame. Coach, thank you. Appreciate your time. 1-1 here at the break After 45, you guys went down, you battled back, you equalized. What's been the message to them in the locker room here to get this deadlock broken in the second half?
Yeah, I thought we started well. You know, I really did. I think we hit the crossbar first and went up instead of down. And then I think Clemson caused us a little bit of problems with some of their, they're breaking our pressure a little too easy. So we talked about that. And then we talked about playing the game in our attacking third a little bit more. We've got to take some territory, and we've got to amp up our pressure a little bit.
Coach, you're a team that has made no secret about it. You don't need the ball all the time, but maybe chased a little bit more than you'd like in the first half. What were your thoughts on the midfield and maybe not being on it, creating the tempo that you'd like as much?
Yeah, I think they dropped like a second 6 down that we have to deal with that was breaking our pressure. So we've talked about that, and hopefully we can do a better job with that between our strikers and our midfield.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate your time. Good luck second half.
Thank you.
All to play for in the second 45. 1-1 at the break. These two teams met back in October. 2-0 win for Notre Dame on Clemson's field. Not an easy place to win, but here in Cary, North Carolina, it is 1-all. We're waiting now. We've got a little clock issue, but we are underway. Nico Alexic blows the whistle, the center official. And here we go. Devin Kerr, Dallin Cup here, the College Cup in Cary, North Carolina, the first of 2 semifinals tonight. Georgetown, University of Washington coming up. 8:30 Eastern is scheduled, unless this goes to overtime. Hamady Diop, the sophomore, has had a great season, second-team All-ACC, but did commit the foul that led to Notre Dame's equalizer in the box. Took down Matt Rue. Jack Lynn capitalized from the spot. Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador, number 10 in orange, got things going with an 11-minute goal. Absolute rocket off the crossbar to put the Tigers up 1-0. What things are you watching for earlier, Devin?
You heard it from Chad Riley. He admitted that they weren't on the ball enough, right? And it was because of those changes that I mentioned, whether it was Chifumba or the shape from Clemson Tigers. They did a really good job of, making both the strikers come a little bit deeper, but the higher line defensively for the two midfielders. So as you drag them one direction, that opens up space in behind. So it's that 15-yard gap that was created for the Clemson Tigers. He knows that they got to get control of that. And in order to do that, you've got to get on the ball more. That's simple enough. Got to stop chasing as much, because as you chase, that's where all that space starts to open up. Clemson Tigers, I want to see them be more aggressive. As we saw them really from minute 10 and the goal to about minute 25, they were front foot, forward-thinking philosophy. We saw them back off of that as the half went on.
Isaiah Reed battling with Philip Quinton. Reed wins that battle. Maintains possession for the Tigers. Driven in, over Patty Burns' head to Malou, the senior, and Dowd stands tall.
And smartly done from the outside back here, because as you hit this all the way to the backside, he's really only got one option off the touch. Not a bad one. Maybe cut it back across on his first one to get it on the left foot, but strong-willed on that right. Good touch out in front. Small angle, quality save.
First corner of the match for Clemson, despite 62% possession in the first half. Felipe looks to take it, but Sela comes short. Out-swinging ball, doesn't beat the first defender. Sela lays it off to Felipe in space. And stars are out here. That's Josh Wolf, the current coach at Austin FC. Obviously a great player in his right for U.S. men's national team. And then Claudio Reyna, maybe the greatest player in U.S. men's national team history. And, of course, his son Gio plying his trade over in Europe at a high level once he gets back healthy. Good to see them in attendance.
He's got the same amount of stars as both these schools combined, Claudio Reyna. He's got 3 in each of his 3 seasons with the Cavaliers. Bruce Arena and those great teams. He was the reason when I was very young that I wanted to be a Cavalier. That changed.
He did. Cuts back on it. Oh, good fancy footwork, but then turns it over almost. He maintains possession. Now, we mentioned Claudio in his prowess, but Gio's mom was a heck of a player, too. She's got a number of stars as well, so that is a footballing family. Diop drives it out wide to Malou. Great crowd on hand here today for the first time. It's filled in beautifully. And they're treated to a bit of, it's been an entertaining game so far. I'm sure the second match between Georgetown and Washington will be more of the same. Diop drives it out to Senzio. Pass picked off and then played off with not the touch.
He's probably the only defender on the back line for Clemson Tigers we really haven't spoken about, and that's a good thing. You never hear his name because he's so even-keeled, right? Just kind of motors along, does his thing. With Justin Malou attacking so much on the right side, you see a lot of movement by the two center backs. George Marks gets involved as well, but Asensio just kind of ever steady on the left-hand flank. Every now and then, you'll see him poke his head out and get involved in the attack. Otherwise, just kind of stays home, make sure they have that proper balance back there.
Coach Mike Neenan referred to him as Steady Eddie. He's now played. This is his 81st match in a Tigers uniform. He was all-ACC freshman team, second team in the sophomore year, and I think a lot of people forget about him. Last year he was outstanding. This year he was very good as well, but did not make all-league honors, and I think that's a bit of a question mark, but nonetheless, Charlie Asensio's had a great career at the Atlanta United Academy. See what goes down. And something to note, too, is Jack Lynn remains on the bench. 11 White in the game still. Daniel Russo and Matt Rue are leading the line, not Lynn, the first-team All-League player. Keep an eye out for 27 to see when he re-enters the match. Again, if you're just tuning into college soccer, in the second half, you can sub in and out throughout the game. The first half, if you go out, you cannot re-enter. In the second half, if you exit the match, you can re-enter. So you'll definitely see some players coming in and out. If they step off the pitch, their day is not done. And there's the aforementioned Lynn. 31 goals is the goal scorer today from the penalty spot. Back-to-back years, first team All-ACC. I thought it was funny because on their jersey, they had the 2013 title. So on their gear, they have their one star right there. And I asked him, what would it mean to put the second star on there? The reason he wants to put the second star is because when he walks around campus, so soccer culture is still growing in America. People don't understand why they have a star above the ND logo. So he has to explain every time the 2013 team won a championship. So why he wants a star is he wants every generation forward. You have to explain the 2021 team won a national title.
He's tired of referencing the boys earlier in the decade.
Yeah.
Or last decade, I should say.
He wants all his shine, henceforth he wants his shine.
That's got to be one of the better answers we've ever heard for that, right?
It was great. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. Loved it. Notre Dame lining up a long throw even from back here. You see Quentin, 6'5" center back, number 2, just in the left part of your screen. Getting forward, trying to target him. He flicks it on, but no danger. Turned out to be a beautiful night here, too. Mid-50s, outstanding weather. I mean, last year it was quite chilly in the mid-30s. I know you from Florida were struggling. The year before that, though, it was played in a monsoon, the semifinals. So we are fortunate.
Chance we weren't even going to get those games in. Remember, 30, 45 minutes to kick. Everybody down on the field. Squeegee going, deciding what the course of action was going to be going forward.
He tried to get going forward, but Quentin took him down.
Okay. Yep. Now you can understand why. Maybe that limp hurts a little bit more than what you saw in the initial view. Contact, what we call there.
Yeah. The junior from Rock Hill, South Carolina, Isaiah Reed, still limping around. Tied for the team lead in goals, 7. He's in the box, as are Oscar Ogren and Justin Blue. Almost crept over the head of Jacobello, and Reed was actually there. Nice lead by Pipe. Sila trying to battle 1v2 and loses that battle. Russo trapped down and run out, played out by Quinn McNeil nicely.
Great defensive work by Giacobello. Read the scouting report on Sela, push him to his left foot. Always tries to pull it back, the midfielder to that right peg. He's so dangerous. Every single time he gets on the ball, you expect him to do something brilliant because that's what he brings to the field. Mike Nguyen regularly putting a lot of onus on the creative abilities of the youngster in the midfield.
21 in orange coming into your picture. Sophomore from Senegal. All-ACC freshman team last year, second team all-conference this year. One of 3 Senegalese starters along with Hamid Diop and Justin Malou. All from Montverde Academy, which is a definition of a pipeline. From Montverde, it produces a lot of players from all over the globe coming right here to Clemson, given the ties between Mike Noonan and the head coach there as this ball has been thrown in long again. Diop gets up and gets his out on the first. Sela wins it. Maybe a transition opportunity. No. Ramsey under some pressure, and Johnson commits the foul.
What I loved about all of that was his comments, not about the playmaking ability. It wasn't about what the guys are like in training and the work that they put in. He looked point blank at me and said, my favorite thing, Devin, 95% of these guys coming through the program, I'd be happy to let any one of them date either one of my daughters. But that gives you an idea. You know, he talks about the personnel that they bring in. There's 7 out of 10 attributes that have to check the box. And he kind of walked us through some of them, and it's, you know, what's your job? I play soccer. He's like, no, you don't. You do, but you got to do something else. Yeah. And you're going to do it here if you want to come here. Yeah. Tell me something that you've done for someone else outside of your own life that didn't involve any actions whatsoever. They couldn't name it, push him off the list. Wasn't interested in that at all.
Yeah. He said, I don't care how talented you are. You have to meet our criteria. If you don't, we'll find other guys that will, and we'll be made of. Maybe not be as talented. They may be better players and they're better fits for our program. For Johnson in that channel.
No fucking way back there.
Burns tosses it over to Wiesmeyer. And Monker just kind of cleared out Russo, no call. Draws the foul, and there's foul on Shea, excuse me.
And with Chad Riley on this one, that was unfortunate. That was great pressure by Notre Dame, and he talked about the presence of the Tigers in the midfield and how they needed to try to eliminate that a bit more so that his guys could get on the ball. That was a real good look of where they almost were able to do it. Push them into the corner. Guys are out of the way. Good opportunity to counterattack. Ref just got in the way of it.
Next match coming up, the 2 and 3 matchup. Washington taking on Georgetown. Kind enough to join us now is Brian Weiss, the coach of the 3-seeded Georgetown Hoyas, the winners of the 2019 College Cup. Coach, 8:30 game, a little later, kickoff. Take us, what are the emotions? What's the vibe of your squad like on the precipice of another College Cup game?
They're excited. I mean, we just pulled into the stadium. It's a beautiful night. The field looks like it's in great shape. It's a totally full house. So, yeah, this is what we're all here for. They're pretty fired up.
Coach, what was the communication like today? Did you text Jamie your lineup and tell him exactly what was coming?
No, we've stayed far away from each other. Our hotels are actually almost sharing the same parking lot, but I think he was pulling our fire alarm and we were doing the same. But other than that, we haven't talked.
These two have a long history we'll get into. I know, Coach, you played for Bobby Clark, Jamie's father, and you guys coached together and known each other for a long time. We'll get into that later. But in terms of the game itself, why should folks stick around? What do you think we're going to see here when your two teams do battle here shortly?
I think you're going to see 2 attacking soccer teams going after each other. I think you're going to see goals. As much as I don't want to concede any, it's going to be hard to keep Washington off the score sheet, and it should just be a fun night for soccer. I think it's going to be two of the better soccer teams in the country, hopefully playing well and giving us a show.
Coach, we appreciate your time. We hope the same thing, and good luck tonight.
All right, thanks, guys.
Brian Weiss, head coach of Georgetown, Jamie Clark, the head coach of Washington. Coming up next here on ESPNU. And these two teams actually met in the 2019 quarterfinals, and there were double digits between both teams of guys on the field in that game. Georgetown thought it was funny. We asked him about it. Georgetown thought, it doesn't really matter. Very different from the team that lost, because Georgetown went on to win the College Cup here in this building in 2019. A lot of those guys, 6 of those guys were on that roster. But Washington players, they definitely remember that game and are looking to rectify that tonight.
It's funny how that works out, right?
It's really strange.
You're on the winning side, and it doesn't mean anything. Great are all these managers, by the way. They're such good people.
It's been a great crew. How about Brian Weiss real quick? He played at Dartmouth, as I mentioned, under Bobby Clark. Was a 3-time All-Ivy League player. Mechanical engineer. Then goes to Stanford as an assistant under Bobby Clark. Gets his master's in, yes, mechanical engineering. I can't even spell that. Nevertheless, graduate with grad school degrees, and he's coaching soccer. And he's an amazing soccer coach and built a program from nothing to being a national power now. Perennially.
You mentioned the math was removed from your contract. So.
I can't add. Jamie Clark is great. His dad, Bobby Clark, is an absolute legend. Played in Aberdeen for maybe the greatest coach ever, Sir Alex Ferguson, for years. And had a great career there as a player, then comes over to the States. Great career coaching here. Coached Notre Dame to their 2013 National Championship. Coach Chad Riley, who is now coaching his alma mater. So Bobby Clark's handprints are all over this College Cup.
Right when you feel like Notre Dame was trying to get back into it and create that presence, at least in terms of pressure, Clemson changes again. Quinn McNeil, Alvaro Gomez side by side, and who steps in front of them? We've seen a bunch of different players come in through it. They really boxed the midfield off, though, and so once again, Ethan O'Brien, Reese Mayer trying to find a way to get on the ball more.
You see Reese Mayer down right now, holding his stomach. And he's asking, you see him making the VAR, the review sign, which has now become global, to make a square with your fingers. And just for, there is no technical VAR in college soccer. 3 things you can review is if the ball goes across the goal line, if there's a mistaken identity, or for disciplinary reasons. So technically, Nikola Alexic can look at it, and there is the motion, and he is going to take a look and see if there was anything nefarious that sent Meyer to the ground. We'll take a look and check what we got here.
Oh my!
Uh-oh.
That's a no-no spot.
When you see him swing like that, what's your gut reaction?
That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing whatsoever. The question is the way that the referee has let the game go, how much are you willing to step in here? Because he's let these guys play. And if you're going to do it, usually they remain, or you at least like them to remain consistent. But that's a very aggressive movement with the elbow coming back across. I've seen people thrown out for less than that. That
was Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador, the goal scorer in this game, the senior from Ecuador, who makes big plays, that is being reviewed right now. And here again is what you can look at. Whether the ball actually crossed the goal line, a goal was scored, to identify players for disciplinary matters, what we're doing right now, and if there's any mistaken identity. You take another look. We're in a semifinal. It's a 1-1 game. It could hinge on this decision. Is it proper to give a red here, or would you rather see it give a yellow? Oh, here we go. There's your answer. He said nothing. Okay. I'm out here doling out cards. We're doling out nothing.
It's interesting that they don't even blow a foul on it, right? I mean, you're going to the sideline here. You can see the arm away from the body. He 100% swings back. The only thing that you could say in terms of the subjective view is that maybe he doesn't connect. That, to me, that looks like there was definite contact, but he gives a drop ball and they're on their way.
I will say this. I'm happy it's still 11-11. I wouldn't want to see it go down.
You don't want to see a game change like that.
But I would assume that would at least be a yellow. There's got to be maybe some discipline for that action, but that's not where we're at.
Any sort of foul.
Yeah.
Just put the ball back into play and let's get on with our business.
Notre Dame's got a number of subs lining up, 2 critical ones being Jack Lynn and Muhammad Omar. 2 seniors have been through the battles to get back in the mix, but Matt Rue runs this one down first. Rue looking for Jacobello to arrive. He's there. There are numbers in the box. Low ball played in. Asensio chips it out. Brian's touch lets him down. Quentin's able to recover. Center back forward. for Patty Burns. Sophomore from Northern Ireland, play the ball, looking back post. Shea arrives. He just bopped around, and then Malou will get rid of it. So it goes out the touch, and we sub. Just to revisit how impactful Bobby Clark is. Again, outstanding player in his own right, playing in Aberdeen for years. Comes over to the States to coach. Dartmouth 3 years, that's where he coached Brian Weiss. Then he goes to Notre Dame, wins a national championship there. He coached Chad Riley at Notre Dame. Brian Weiss was part of that staff. He's also part of the staff at Stanford. Jamie Clark is the coach of UW. He coached with Brian Weiss as well. They all know each other quite well. They've found text chains, particularly during COVID. They were talking a lot, getting on Zooms, talking soccer. Long throw in here. We did ask, how much have you guys talked? Well, they saw each other yesterday. But I don't think, they weren't exchanging 11s and going through a lot of things. But it's definitely an interesting story to see how involved Bobby is in terms of his fingerprints on everything.
The glue that held it all together in Dartmouth. Right? Yeah. It's interesting. That's not a knock on Dartmouth. It's just when you think men's college soccer, you look at your UVAs, right? Your UNCs, your Dukes, your Clemsons, historically. Yeah. Dartmouth usually isn't in that conversation, and yet that program and the tree, the reach that it's given college soccer, brilliant.
And they all said they all play very different styles, but the values they have as educators and the things they instill in their players, that all comes from Bobby Clark. Pipe to play it in, second corner of the game for Clemson. Out swing, look to the back post. Johnson's there. Kind of dinks it back up in the air. Pipe nods it down. And Dowler playing. Great soccer coming your way tonight, but of course more coming your way tomorrow. The 26th MLS Cup played 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. And you can check that out on ESPN and the ESPN app. The Portland Timbers will face New York City FC at Providence Park, which will be rocking, no doubt. The Timbers looking for their 3rd cup in 7 years. NYCFC looking for their first ever as they get themselves to the cup for the first time. And speaking of their senior team's doing great, but look at the youth team. And these guys, you're going to see a number of these guys in Georgetown tonight, Polvara, and Sands. But look at all this talent, and this is only some of the roster that was part of that NYCFC team that won back-to-back Development Academy national champions.
That's the scariest thing is there was actually 13 different players, and the worst that any of them were Division I college athletes. Come on, it's Boston College and UVA and North Carolina. There's the Blue Bloods that we were talking about, right? But think about the 2 different paths that the brothers have taken. Will Sands, absolutely, in the next game that we're going to see. And all the talent around them as well. You got a guy who kind of gets plucked early, 17 years old, homegrown deal for NYCFC, now national team player, and another one who goes to college. I did like the comment from Brian Weiss. He said all he knows is national championships. Won back-to-back national championships to finish off his academy career. Wins it his freshman year, Elite 8 last year, and now another opportunity to add a star to his own personal collection.
That's pretty crazy. Obviously, Gio Reyna part of that group too. One of the most talented players in the U.S. national team pool, getting himself back to full health, playing at Borussia Dortmund. As we already just showed you, his father, Claudio, in the stands here, the scouting director, or the technical director, sporting director, at Austin FC. Opportunity for Diop to whip this in with his left foot. Less weight, more reps. That wasn't on frame, but we did have some scoring in the first half. It was a really eventful first half, up and down, and Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador, Pipe put him up 1-0, the Tigers, and then back came Jack Lynn off the penalty spot in the 21st minute. That's where we find ourselves at 1-1, 24 minutes to play. Devin Kerr, Dallin Cup here with you in Cary, North Carolina. The College Cup, the first of 2 semifinals tonight. Georgetown, Washington to come. Devin's got some equipment issues. His shoes are off. I don't know what's happening over here, but there's a game in front of us.
Shoes falling off, or pets' heads are falling off.
Chipped in, almost an opportunity. Marks comes off the line. So you're telling me there's a chance.
I got to change my studs for this field.
The field was in great condition. We were walking on it earlier. Maybe an opportunity. Falling. Jack Lynn tries to slide it through. Genenbacher. Uh-oh, bad turnover. Lynn might get a shot off. He does! Just wide! That's not the guy you want to see to have the ball at his feet on a turnover. He almost capitalized.
Watch this quick little turn. This is the kiss of death on the outside of the post. At least it looked it. Vision, bottom corner. Little luck here for George Marks, who was beaten. And how good is he on the stop of a dime? One touch goes to work. Almost tucks this thing home.
Number of subs coming in the game. His first foray into the action. Brandon Parrish, the sophomore, 20 in orange, was just on the ball. Twice the Gatorade Player of the Year in Tennessee. Play to the feet of Russo. Back to McCartney. To Lynn. Diop adds a challenge, gets rid of it. And Mohamed Saif plays it out wide. He came back in the game for Isaiah Reed moments ago. Parrish looking to flip it into Say, does not connect. This has been very different, Devin. What have you seen here so far?
They're afraid to make mistakes. The guys are nervous about what could or could not be in front of them, and that intensity, really the opening 25 minutes of the first half, to be fair to both squads, it's not as present here, and guys are a little bit more tentative. The long balls coming through. If you notice some of the rotation, just keep your eye on it for both teams. Outside of the chance that we just saw for Jack Lynn, they're one-offs. Right? It's the ball down in and then everybody's chasing. There's no real fluid build compared to what we saw, especially for the Tigers, as much as they were on the ball in the first half with 62-38 in terms of possession. It's almost hit with a hope and a prayer. Maybe they'll run onto it, and would say defensively, they're not willing to take as much chances either. Malou hasn't come as much. Same thing coming off the back line. Notre Dame just kind of staying at home because guys are worried. The next one be a mistake. Could cost them.
This may cost him too. Mohamed Omar was tangled up with Mo Saying, and Omar, the senior, down in pain. Born in Toronto, came to Notre Dame from Berkshire, Massachusetts. Prep school there. Talked to Nikola Alexic about what had happened. There's no foul call in the play. And Ethan O'Brien is working a fourth official too, Daniel Radford. You don't see that every day. At least in college soccer. In Europe, I feel like anybody could just give anything they want to the fourth, and it doesn't matter. You give whatever you want to the fourth, and they just take it. There's UW, the number 2 overall seed out of the Pac-12. Watching from the tunnel as they get set to take on Georgetown here. When this one concludes, it'll be 30 minutes after. We're not sure if it'll be 8:30 as scheduled. There may be some overtime, unless Usman Sila can change that. Out to Parrish. Loops it in. Say is there! Oh, save for Dowd. And a quick transition opportunity maybe for the Fighting Irish as they get going the other way. Russo's got Lynn in the box. Oh, Russo. Does he get in line? Is there a foul? No. Waved off. Let's take a look at that save. First and foremost, the first chance.
Even though he does everything right on this ball to the back post, he's almost surprised that it falls to him because of the defender right in front of him. With that big frame, he doesn't get enough momentum on it to really go after Brian Dowd. Then how about on the other side? There's a little bit of contact, but that's not enough for me. Off the back shoulder, it's making friends.
First save for either team was made by Dowd right there. And Clemson makes a sub 2. Elton Chifomba back in the match. The ball's coming toward him right now. He comes in for Alvaro Gomez. Chifomba, a freshman. Gomez, a junior from Spain. Gomez has scored some big goals. He had their game-winning goal against Kentucky in the 3rd round of this tournament. Keep them moving on. And forth, Sila there. Gets it to the feet of Say, but he can't control it. Clemson got to this point by beating Oregon State in Corvallis. Bad turnover. Callum Johnson pokes it to the arms of Dowd. Dowd upset with his back line, and rightfully so. And Georgetown on the opposite side of the field, watching from their tunnel. I'm not going to lie, I used to hate that, playing in tournaments when you're the next game playing. You're ready to get going, but you can't get a normal warm-up in. You don't know if they're going to go to overtime. It's tough. Russo, Meggs, Agra, no call. Would look like a takedown. Oh,
that good tackle.
Heavy.
It's human nature to be interested, right? Especially when you don't know when your warm-up's coming your way.
That's what I'm saying. It's a very different experience for the second team in the tournament. They can warm up on the extra fields here at WakeMed Soccer Park behind us if they so choose. Maybe they will do that. Matt Rue checks in the match for Daniel Russo. And Usman Sila comes out for Pipe. Harris tried to play it between the legs. Omar doesn't come off. Rue now finds Lynn. Back to Omar. Ethan O'Brien working through the midfield. Hello, Brian. Now, you heard Brian Weiss say earlier, full house. He ain't lying. We are at capacity, 10,132 here at Salem Stadium. Came out to see two great games. We've had a good one so far. Another one coming up with Georgetown and Washington. Cary has been the host of this event the last few years, and they've done a great job in hosting it. Long throw here, looking for Quentin as always. They double up on him. Can't get to his head. Balls to the feet of Lynn. Flags down. Lynn working on Chifumba. Oh. Still Lynn tries to drive it in. Deflected by Ogren. Falls to Patty Burns. He strikes it. Deflects. And Mark's able to keep it out, but it's still loose. It's still down. Lynn's on it. Lynn goes down. They wave off the penalty. And Auger just gets rid of it. But only to Jacobello. He keeps it in. Genenbacher. No call. He's got men in the middle. Falls to McCartney. Brandon Paris tries to get it out. He can't. This is like a power play in hockey right now. Jacobello lines it up. And he overhits it.
George Marks is furious with the referee here. He feels like he had his hands on the ball. I actually don't agree with the goalkeeper. He never fully had possession as this comes back through. Good recovery right there. See, his defender gets in the way, spills out in front of him. Jack Lynn, not going to happen. That's his own momentum coming out in front of him. There's contact between everybody, but it is not a penalty. What a recovery by George Marks in the initial save.
Second team All-League keeper makes the play. Jack Lynn, the first team All-League attacker, he's hyped. Oh, now they're going to the... Nikola Alexic's going to the... Talking to fourth official, Daniel Radford.
They've got to be looking at the contact, well, but you can't...
Again, let's take a look.
But on the back side of it, that's the biggest thing here. Watch the recovery. When he comes through, nothing there, right there. There's not enough contact at all, and they can't review that anyway.
Exactly. That's the only things you can review in video in college soccer is if the ball technically crosses the goal line, if there's a mistaken identity for a disciplinary matter, or for a disciplinary matter to look and adjudicate something that happened on the field. This isn't even close to the line. maybe from Alexic's point of view, he couldn't see it from where he was as the referee, but he's halted the game to go take a look. I mean, that is quite a ways off.
Better safe than sorry, maybe.
I guess.
A couple years ago, we're going, why don't you go look at that, right? I mean, everybody in the stadium could see it didn't cross the line. But well done by the refereeing crew to stay on top of it, and as we know, no goal.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Jack Lynn was hyped that they got to look at it. Maybe he must have lobbied for it, but, I mean, it wasn't close. But that was the best attacking effort we'd seen really in the second half. And that was sustained pressure of a number of attempts that Clemson survived.
Notice from Notre Dame as well, they're more clear-cut in their decision-making. One of the things that has really plagued them throughout this game is even when there's an opportunity there, they're not as quick to react on it. So their higher line defensively is good. Second balls are falling their way, but they're reacting to it. That's the biggest thing that's falling for them right now. It's not taking your time. They're not clouding their decision-making. Mo Omar's back on. You've got the speed up top, but right away, ball on the deck, play it, and move.
Nice step by Ogren. Another deflection. It might fall to Lynn. It does, but Alvaro Gomez scoops it up. Say trying to battle with Josh Ramsey. Doesn't win that, but Ramsey sends it into the stratosphere. Quentin heads it out. And down goes Say. Him and Ramsey have been battling quite a bit. 17th foul of the match for Notre Dame. They are a physical team, not afraid to get stuck in.
Foul indicated against Deion Ridge.
Pipe wanted to play it quick. The referee will bring it back. Out to Sensio. Cuts inside on his weaker right foot and plays it right to the feet of Muhammad Omar. Diop tries to switch it to Malou. Malou wins the header. Brought down by Parrish. Ceylon Gomez back in the midfield. Ceylon loves to turn around defenders, loses the ball though. Jack Lynn tracking back.
Look how deep the two strikers are as well, helping out defensively, where even if Omar can't win this first tackle, he's got Jack Lynn, Matt Ruse in there to help out as well. That wasn't what was going on in the first half. There was a clear-cut space, about 10, 15 yards between the midfield unit and the two strikers. Not the case here in the second half.
Well read there by Giacobello. We saw that all the way. Nice touch by Genevieve. Oh, a couple of them. Gets to the feet of Lynn. Pops it back out. Who's going to win this race? Diop or Genenbacher. Diop does. There's still contact. He gets up and maintains possession. Genenbacher goes right through him, and he's upset. Yet to see a card, and Genenbacher's working for his card right now if he's going to get one. There's quite a bit of dissent. Said all game, referee Nicole Alexic has let them play. It seems like he will let them even show a little dissent, and no cards here.
It's Mo Omar playing Switzerland for his youngster on the outside. Good little flick, and again, they just go to work. There's more direction here in the second half. They don't have a lot of chances from it. That's the only concern you're going to have if you're Chad Riley. Again, they've chased a lot in the first. They've done it here in the second, but they have defensively cut off a lot of those passes that caused them the concern in the first half. He talked about the 2-6s. That's the strikers getting in the way, not allowing them to play through. Good look at it. Gomez slides over. There's no outlet pass. And if it does get out, they're pushing them to the exterior in one-on-one situations. For the most part, it's going to be much happier defensively here in the second half.
Genenbacher's now going to make way for Tyler Shea. Come back in the match. Shea, the junior, replacing Genenbacher, the freshman. More great soccer coming your way this weekend. Sunday, the Madrid derby. Real Madrid taking on Atleti. Real Madrid atop the table. Atleti chasing on their heels. 2:50 Eastern on ESPN Plus. Another great game across the ESPN platforms coming up on Sunday. I'm sure Real Madrid fans enjoyed Barcelona crapping out of the Champions League. They're heading to the Europa League after their 3-0 fall to Bayern Munich on the road in Bavaria in another empty stadium, unfortunately. Landon Ogren in a bit of a foot race. Marks off his line, gets rid of it. All played by Sensu. He took out Shea, but he played the ball, and there's no call. Shea is still down. Tigers will play on. Shea does get up now. Jogs back into position.
There's a ton of room here on this. Right in front of us, Justin Malou cheating really high. There he goes. Give it to him.
Gomez does not. Plays it to the feet of Ogren. Now it'll get out to Malou. Columbus Crew draft pick. Last MLS draft, 27th overall. Still plying his trade, though, here in college. Over to Quinn McNeil. Pipe, the goal scorer, spins into trouble.
You want to be successful in those situations, you got to cut it out the middle man. Because Dawson McCartney had already started to drift over. You get in behind him, then you get the one-on-one situation you want. Otherwise, you're on the backside of it where you've got to beat Burns and McCartney. That usually doesn't end well.
You've seen Mohamed Say, number 9 in orange, who is the traditional number 9 that they've not been able to play with. He's got a big brace on his knee. He's not 100%, but they've played a lot of the second half with him. Has it been better than the first half? It doesn't seem that way.
No, not at all. They're searching right now for their shape. The double pivot on the inside is still there with McNeil and Alvaro Gomez. The problem is right there. When Sila comes over, he's actually been very active and on the ball a lot. But when he collects, one, more Notre Dame players around him. Number two, the options are being shut down much quicker in the second half by Notre Dame. So those little spins that he was getting away with the first and that space was there are no longer options for him. I'm actually a little surprised, given the way that the second half of the season is gone, without the 2 number 9s for Clemson, that Mike Noonan hasn't changed again. That he hasn't gone to a single on the inside, maybe 3 in front, almost like an extended triangle, because that causes an issue for the boys in the middle for Notre Dame. More importantly, it actually frees up more space for the 2 strikers above them. So it's about levels and if you can play through it. And for the most part, it's all been on the outside, if you notice.
And we talk about Say, but they're without James Brighton. They have been since the 3rd game of the season. Brighton is all-league level player, was an all-tournament team, member of the 20 squad that won the ACC championship, ACC tournament. He scored a goal in that final against Pitt. He scored a goal in the final of the 2019 ACC tournament, which they lost to Virginia in heartbreaking fashion. There's Brighton. He's been basically a season-ending injury, but he comes to every training sessions and every lift. Coach tells us he has been an emotional leader. He's one of their captains, and he's delivered for them when he can't play, but he's still there trying to help them out. He's been there every step of the way as this team has got back to the College Cup. I'm sure it's just killing him not to be on the pitch right now.
I would not want to be the first defender matched up with him, by the way, because he's put on some serious muscle coming back in his rehab work. I mean, look at him.
He's working the sledgehammer. Again, that is a little bit of a good luck charm. They take it everywhere. It's part of their strength and conditioning, not regiment, but it's a little memento they always have in the strength and conditioning room. They take it with them in all the games. He was wielding it around like Paul Bunyan before the game. Sure, just dying to get back out there. Clemson set to make another sub. Here comes Brandon Parrish back into the match for Quinn McNeil. Again, if you do the college soccer, you can make one exit in the second half and re-enter the match. That's why you saw Parrish step out, but now he's back in a few minutes later. And McNeil, I'm sure, will still be able to, he will be able to re-enter the match. I'm sure he will as one of their starters. It's had game-winning goals like that North Carolina game back in October, and he's had some big plays throughout this campaign. McNeil has. He drew the PK, actually, in the game they played against Denver, double overtime game. He drew PK in the 108th minute, which Oscar Ogren stepped up and knocked in. Have them advance to play Kentucky in the next round. Notre Dame's path's been unique, too. I mean, they won their first game against Villanova, then they played Wake Forest, ACC team. They played Pitt, beat them for the 3rd time this year, ACC team. And here we are again, play another ACC opponent in Clemson. Josh Ramsey just slides it right to dark stands. Coverage of the NCAA Championships continues with the Men's College Cup Final, Sunday, December 12th, 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. For more information on the NCAA Men's College Cup, log on to ncaa.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA Championships. Deb and I will be pleasure to be back on the call with our entire crew Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. The winner of this game will play the winner of Georgetown, Washington, which comes up next here on ESPNU. Scheduled for 8:30. Given this game right now locked up at 1, that may be pushed back a little bit. Overtime may be pending. Isaiah Reed comes back in the match for Mohamed Say as you see him working his way down the sidelines, dapping up the staff and teammates. Well done by Parrish. Sencio brings it down. Finds the feet of Fernandez. Good first touch. Out to Sela. 1v1 with Quinton. Cuts back in. And she's sent back out. Clemson's had late drama throughout this tournament. As we mentioned, they had the 108th minute penalty. 89th minute winner against Kentucky, courtesy of Alvaro Gomez, getting an 88th minute penalty in the game against Oregon State to get themselves to this point. 85th minute penalty, excuse me. So there's always been drama throughout this tournament for them. Maybe more coming. Johnson, good ball played in, nobody there though. Diop's touch a little off.
Got a lot more speed on the field right now. Clemson does. Calvin Johnson back in. Brandon Parrish on the inside. He's an interesting one because they usually, at least the tendency earlier this year, was to deploy him in a much more advanced role. Now you're paired up as really an 8-type spot for the Tigers. And Bill got to be real careful with your decision making. He's been a bit shaky since coming on.
Had it roll across his body and almost picked up there by Johnson McCartney in a dangerous spot.
He's looking around a lot too, and not in a good way. He's not checking for runners. He's trying to figure out, okay, where exactly am I supposed to be within our movements coming forward right now? To be fair to him, Alvaro Gomez very active. He's trying to get on the ball as much as possible. 18 in orange and be the distributor.
Diop looking, he may switch it to Malou, chooses not to. Pass over hit, going to force Auger to chase it down. He's going to get there. Under 4 minutes. And Notre Dame's gone to 2 penalty shootouts. I know there's potentially 2 overtimes, but the last 2 times they've gone to OT, they've gone all the distance, and they've been great in those shootouts. But if there is no goal here, we'll go to a sudden victory situation, 10-minute overtime. Nothing there, you will go to a second half. Another 10-minute overtime. Nothing there, we will go to penalties. Malou shows too much of the ball to McCartney and fouled him.
Penalty again against the Tigers.
He Burns to take the free kick. Sophomore from Northern Ireland. Played on their youth teams. Beat Germany in a European competition. Brother actually plays for Hearts. He's in 3rd right now in the Scottish Premier League. And per normal, Notre Dame's bringing the big boys forward for the long throw. Under 2:30. Contact. No call there. Laid back to Meyer. Carly puts in a ball. Omar arriving! Couldn't put it on frame.
Similar to the same on the other end of the start of this first half. Just doesn't know if it's actually going to get to him. What a ball in by Dawson McCartney. I mean, he hits this thing with some sort of vengeance, and look at Mo Omar. You know, to be fair, the quick little release on the backside by Diop gets just in front of him to clog the vision. Omar can't drive through the ball, just has to sort of hope to redirect off of it, and as tall as he is, he catches it early, comes back down, easily up over the bar.
6'3" frame for Omar, flying to the air again there, winning that header. Shea is on it, he's got Giacobello, plays him. Driving to the box, played in, we're going to have a corner where Notre Dame is always dangerous. Crowd here, all 10,000 starting to rise to their feet as they sense it could be different. 35 seconds. Could this be a moment? Could Notre Dame get back to the College Cup final for the first time since they hoisted the trophy in 2013? If they deliver here, they'll have that opportunity. In swinging ball. Off the head of Ogren, and Meyer was there, his hands on his head because he knows he would have had a shot. 15 to go. Burns the play quickly. Driven ball. Johnson plays it out.
7, 6.
Countdown is on.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Into overtime we go. 1-1 after the full 90. Your thoughts, Devin?
Boys got tentative in the second half. They were afraid to make mistakes, and they were afraid to attack, and it showed in the play. There wasn't as much quality in the second 45 minutes. I give Notre Dame some credit on the end of it, final 5 minutes. You saw they didn't want it to end that way. They tried to go after it, but this is going to be a talk right now between the two coaches of, guys, think about all the work you've done to get here. Let's go win this thing. Let's get back to the quality we know we're capable of, because that wasn't it.
Well, both teams got to this point through a penalty kick shootout. We don't know if we're getting there. We do know we're going to overtime. Two ACC foes that know each other well. The last two conference champions trying to be national champions. That'll be on the line when we come back. Overtime from Cary, North Carolina in the College Cup. (1-1) after 90 minutes. The ACC foes could not be separated. Clemson and Notre Dame, the 8 versus 4 matchup, the first of two semifinals tonight. Alongside Devin Kerr, I'm Dallin Cuff. Notre Dame's won the ACC tournament on this field, but they've got a lot more work to do to get themselves to a national championship final. It started off good for the Irish, but striking first, at least Felipe Fernandez Salvador, they call him Pipe. Whoa, what a play.
Take this from distance. What a strike that was. Little kiss off the post to beat the goalkeeper, and then they went back to work, though. The response from Notre Dame 10 minutes later. McCartney in, Root down, Lynn to the spot, into the back of the net. The chances in the second half are what got interesting for me, because even though Clemson were on the ball a lot more, they didn't really create a lot of options. This is probably their best chance. To be fair, the ball to the back post, Say doesn't think it's going to get to him, doesn't get enough momentum behind it, and then come in the other direction. Notre Dame started to reset itself. The aggression started to creep in, especially for the two outside midfielders and the two strikers. How about the bounce and the recovery here from George Marks? They checked it. It did not cross the line. It wasn't even close, to be fair. But just before we head into the dressing room, how good can this be from Dawson McCartney without having it finish? And unfortunately from Omar, couldn't even put it on frame.
Omar had a worldie of a goal against Wake Forest earlier in this tournament. Couldn't get that one to go. And here are your overtime rules. It is sudden victory. First goal wins. So we'll have one 10-minute overtime period. If you do not succeed there, we'll have a second overtime period. You cannot re-enter in the first overtime if you exit the match, but you can come back in the second overtime if you leave the match in the first overtime. We took a look at their records on the campaign. 2-0-1 for Clemson. Notre Dame 1-2-4 in terms of their success in the overtimes this year. They both won their last matches to advance through penalty kicks. They went through overtime game. Clemson on the road against the number 1 seed, Oregon State, up in Corvallis. Found a way to get to penalty kicks and won that 4-2 on penalties. Notre Dame won penalties as well, taking down Pitt 4-2 in their penalty shootout just the same. Nick Alexic, our middle official, center official, blows his whistle. George Marks, Brian Dowd, the keepers. We'll see if they have anything to say in this match before we get to OT, before we get to penalties, if that happens. So, Devin, it was a nervy second 45. What do you expect to see we're in overtime?
Expecting and what I would like to see are probably two different things right here, given the way that half went. What gets you into trouble here, Dallin, especially in these situations, you get nervous, it starts to cloud your judgment, and those hesitations really cause issues for your team because you don't make that step. The other player thinks you're going to go. If it's a movement coming out of the midfield, the shape is off. The next thing you know, the opposition's countering going the other direction. This is where you got to remain constant.
Long throw is always Lynn, but what a save by Marks! He got his paw on it. The second team all-league keeper stepped up big as finally that long throw was able to connect.
Taken by number 2, Noah Quinton.
Say still in the game. He lays it off to Usman Sila, but could not connect with Callum Johnson. Sila megs Omar with the pass, but doesn't connect. Matt Rue. O'Brien taking the space. Turns it over, though.
Work on the outside here by Tannenbacher, outside midfielder from Notre Dame, recognized the fact that that box that we've talked about for the Clemson Tigers on the interior just cuts out that pass. So you eliminate not just the ability to connect to one, but both of them really, because they're stacked horizontally next to each other.
DK plays it out to Asensio. Short to Sila. Driven and goes out for a corner. Take a look at the save and the opportunity for Notre Dame to end it.
Watch him push through everybody too. George Marks, he's in traffic, and as this comes back across, well done on the reaction here, because Quentin's got the presence on him. There's the backside by Lynn. Lynn just finds this little half space to flick on, and you wonder why. He pretty much is in top 10 or top 5 in every statistical category in program history. That's why, right there from George Marks.
Third corner of the match, Pipe to take, and swinging ball doesn't beat the first defender. Sila looking for Ogden in the back post. No contact, no call. Diop and Say are there. And Hartley went in hard. He's asking for a sub. Don't want to see that. The transfer from Dartmouth has been a game changer for this team throughout the year. Had both goals in the ACC tournament final on this field, which gave them the championship over Duke. He is still limping, and they've got some subs coming to the table. Burns sells out, makes the play on the ball. McCarty looks okay right now. Eventually dispossessed. O'Brien wins in the midfield for McNeil. Slides it into McCartney. He's got space. Over to get it. Balker is this in. What a save by Marks again! It's not over, though. And the foul is called. And Marks is stepping up.
The saves this kid has had to make down the stretch, unfathomable. And I'm not just talking about this game, but point-blank range. I mean, that's game, set, match. Watch the outstretched foot of the goalkeeper. Knows that he's beaten near post. Beautiful recovery. And on the backside of the scene, he turned around to all of the students behind him, said, let's go. Let's get back on track.
2 saves in less than 5 minutes that have kept the season alive. And the senior, maybe his career alive. With a COVID year, he could come back, but that is absolutely huge. in the fray in the action there. We did miss Dawson McCartney was carded, given the first card of the match. Something to note there. And a couple subs coming in for Notre Dame. Brian Silver comes in for Matt Rue. McCartney ends up going off. I believe for Tyler Shea. And Reese Meyer checks back in the match. And Russo's in. Shea brings it down. And play a through ball to Fernandez Salvador. He wins that race. Pipe taken down. That'll be a free kick in a dangerous spot. First overtime's had a little more juice in the second half.
Jacobella's having words with Felipe Fernandez as well in the backside of it. Watch the outstretched arms. That's where you get in, because it's not the fact that there's a lot of momentum behind it, but the hands extended away from the body in general. Referee had great positioning on it. Doesn't matter how much he's going to let you play. Arms are that far away from the torso, you're always going to get yourself into trouble.
20th foul of the match for Notre Dame. Sela and Pipe standing over. The crowd behind this goal has come to their feet. Pipe to take. Floated back post. Dow gets a hand to it. Gomez trying to track it down, usher it out. Can't. Well played by Meyer to keep it in play. Meyer steps back in front again. That pass is going to be off, though, and Sela could win the race. Now Lynn may have a chance. Got a runner to his left. Still Lynn. Still Lynn. The senior wants it. The senior, does he have it? No.
There's two arguments here, right? Who do you want with the ball running downhill at the opposing team? And Jack Lynn, 9 times out of 10, is going to be the answer. But look over the left shoulder. All the space available for your All-American. Doesn't release it. It's a great touch to get around on the outside. And all of the hard work, everything that he did over the previous 65, 70 yards goes to waste. This last touch, ball comes across his body. You can't redirect your hips. Becomes very difficult to put it on front. He knows it too. That one got away from him.
Two-time first-team All-ACC player. 31 goals in his career. He was the goal scorer earlier in this match from the penalty spot. Almost broke the deadlock. But it's been a tense last 7 minutes and 40 seconds.
A little surprised with his knowledge of what he brings to the field, knowing that he's going to drag runners with him, because we've seen him do it multiple times this year, that he didn't think that ball over to the left.
Yeah. I was expecting to make that play, but he did not. Couldn't get it on frame. Say tries to lay it off to Sela. Stepped up by Ramsey, turned over. Russo. Back to Jacobello. We'll just send it long. Neal turns into some space. Out to Asensio. He's got orange jerseys ahead of him. He's got options. Plays it back. Sela gonna clip it over to Malou.
That's the issue you run into, though, is if you don't move quick, you've got all 11 Notre Dame players 25 yards from net. It's almost impossible to break them down.
Eldon Chifamba comes on, the freshman. Off goes Alvaro Gomez, the junior from Spain. Nice way from Chifamba, freshman from Ohio. The Columbus Crew setup. Under a minute in the first OT. Again, no goal. We will go to a second overtime of 10 minutes. Shaking your head, Devin. Why?
Wanted him to hit it the first time. To be fair, though, Patty Burns, real quick recovery, spun to the outside and saw that you had the run coming on the far touchline just in front of the coaches. But it was a good job to then sort of pump fake at it. As the year has gone on for the Clemson Tigers, this team that was always downhill, at least the first half of the season. We mentioned the 2 losses at the striker position. They've become much better at having patience, stepping on the ball, building a bit more. That was a look at it.
All played in as the countdown goes. Late goal mouth action, nothing doing though. Thoughts on those 10? It was a little more exciting than second 45.
Yeah, the boys are ready to play now. What we said coming out, the coaches would have said, whether it's Marks, Dowd, any of your goal scorers, the intensity has to be higher because this was a walk in the park, nonchalant in the second half. These guys wanted to play. Now watch this translate with 10 minutes to go because from the first whistle till the last, they got it going. Balls floated in left and right. Battles. Watch Marks right on man line. Good job here by the goalkeeper because there's a lot of bodies in front of him. This is just about raw talent and skill and being the best that you can be. McCartney could have been selfish, was not. Getting Bacher can't stick it in. Guess who? George Marks has been incredible throughout this game. And Jack Lynn. Marks is lucky here, to be honest, because if Lynn connects, there's a really good chance this finishes it off. Has the space over the left shoulder, beats Asensio, can't even put it on frame though. That's not very good from Jack Lynn for a player that we've seen high quality in and around the top of the 18.
So Notre Dame 3 shots to Clemson's 0 in the first overtime. Clemson did have some goal mouth action, if you will. Couldn't really make a shot out of it. But Notre Dame definitely had the better of the chances, and George Marks stood tall. So if you're, take me inside both huddles. If you're Mike Noonan, what are you saying to Clemson? If you're Chad Riley, what are you saying to the Irish?
Chad Riley, don't change because they've gotten back to where they've been successful, right? Everybody working for each other, guys willing to go that extra effort. And they're also not locking those long balls that we talked about in the first half and expecting someone to run onto them. Instead, there's good hold-up play, and they're moving in transition together. Clemson Tigers, it's time to change again. They've changed a couple of times within this game. They haven't done it really since about the 85th minute. And so defensively, Notre Dame is set up for success because they're not getting a different look. They know where the runners are going to come from. All of the movements have been pretty traditional for the Clemson Tigers. This is where Mike Noonan gets to be his best, though, because he will flip that switch. He'll go to a single pivot. He'll put 5 in the middle. He'll put 2 runners on the outside. You have to be really careful because although it's been the same look for Notre Dame defensively, it could change just like that and be a real problem.
Notre Dame has only lost once in the last 15 matches. That was to UNC, a 3-1 game in Chapel Hill. They've been outstanding. They won the ACC tournament, winning 4 straight games. Clemson, on the other hand, has gotten to this point after falling in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, and they're still alive in this game because of George Marks. You see where he ranks in terms of wins, shutouts, and saves in all-time history for Clemson. But he stood tall on not 1 but 2 occasions in that first overtime to keep this game alive and keep his team in this opportunity to move forward in the College Cup play for a national championship, which Clemson did back in 2015, falling to Stanford. Notre Dame hoisted the trophy back in 2013. 2 of the more blue blood programs in the history of college soccer. Into the second overtime on a beautiful night, packed house. What more can you ask for?
The interesting thing for me right now is watching that huddle talk for Clemson. George Marks, in our meeting with him, he was the most active player in his responses. He was the one who seemed to sort of lead the guys as to which direction he wanted them to follow in our talking points. He walks into the huddle right now, and that is one of 2 things. Guys, we got this, we believe, and by the way, I'm not doing this alone. So come and help me out a little bit here because I need more of an offensive presence.
He is their team leader. Mike Noonan says it all the time. He stepped up big. Second OT underway here. Cary, North Carolina. That's Devin Kerr. I'm Dallin Cuff. 1-1 since the 21st minute of the game. Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador. Pipe put him up 1-0 for the Tigers. Beautiful strike from about 25 yards out. Jack Lynn from the penalty spot got his 31st career goal to equalize, and that's where we find ourselves still. But that first overtime was tense. There were opportunities. Marks was huge. We'll see more of that in this second 10. It is sudden victory. Next goal wins the game. If not, we are going to penalty kicks. Last game that went to penalty kicks in a College Cup was the 2019 final between UVA and Georgetown. Georgetown won 7-6 in penalties and hoisted the trophy in what was one of the more memorable games in the history of the College Cup. 3-3 regulation game. Omar just able to get there in front of him instead of say. Ogren and Lynn battling what they have all game.
Beautiful defending. There was some cut off the angle. You don't always have to win the speed game, and Ogren has it. But someone like Jack Lynn, who I always make the argument, he's faster with the ball at his feet. Great job just tucking back over, winning that shoulder battle. Move it on.
Pipe is down after a little contact with Mo Omar. Stop the clock. See him get stamped on. Ooh.
That's not negligence, though, by Mo Omar. He's trying to gain his balance.
Yeah.
Left foot coming over the right. Only see him as a dancing type deal.
After that goal against Wake Forest, I'm not putting anything by him. His feet look like Fred Astaire right there.
It's the best goal celebration I've seen in quite some time. Me? Me? Pointing to himself? Me?
That Wake Forest first goal, folks. He has a little Cruyff turn and puts it in the corner, and he is pointing himself like, yo, I just did that? Yeah, you did, man. Asensio's header flicked on to Say. Trying to release Pipe, he does. Recovery by Quentin, though, crowded out with 3 white jerseys. What is a moment like this like? You obviously don't want it to go to pens, but how do you avoid forcing or pressing to which could make a mistake?
This goes back to what we talked about heading into overtime, where you shouldn't worry about making a mistake. Just play. And that's where teams get themselves into trouble, is they worry about, well, if I do this wrong, if I overextend here, I'm going to get myself into trouble. You shouldn't worry about that at all.
Dowd's questioning what to do. He whiffed on it, but Johnson couldn't make any contact to a vacant goal. Whoa.
That's what I'm talking about, though.
Brian Dowd has been outstanding. They had 6 shutouts through the ACC and the NCAA tournament up until the game against Pitt. Penalty saves.
Consecutive
shutouts. That would have been heartbreaking to see them go out on a mistake like that, as great as he has been and his back line has been. They're still alive. McNeil with space. Into space. I mean, maybe cue the Benny Hill music. Benny Hill music right here.
Brian Dowd. Notice the checkup on the ball. That's where he gets a bit confused. Watch the ball. The first touch right there. It doesn't spring forward as much as he thought it was going to do, and it checked up on the turf, so he had to stop his run. The other side of that is, if he continued forward, he would have made contact and got himself into trouble.
Yeah. Oh, Malou going in heavy. Into the aerial battle. Meyer back on the deck. He was sandwiched there between Say and Malou.
Pretty interesting, by the way, with all the tackles that we've seen tonight. We only have the 1 card. Dawson McCartney, which I'm pretty sure was for running his mouth on the far side.
I will say, Nikola Alexic, in a cup semifinal, he has refereed this game like many of us would want it. Long ball looking for Omar. Oh, Tyler Shea taken down. And yes, Seth Barton and the far AR waved his flag, and that will be a card now given to Say, I believe. And you get a striker playing on one leg, defending. That's the result right there.
Good little cutback across, and smartly done here by Tyler Shea. He's been so good at understanding the space around him, when to and when not to step into it. Recognize this for the referee. Just one more thing. I don't care how you're going to call a game. Just be consistent. As a player, if you're going to say, I'm going to let you get away with that, as long as it rings true for the entire game, I'm fine with it.
And it has for sure. Now this could be the opportunity. Fans coming to their feet behind this goal.
Oh, space top of the box.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Shea and McCartney are just standing there. So Jacobello. But it's floated in back post. Opportunity for Meyer. Oh, Doctor. Lynn is down, though, too. Asking for a stoppage. Just take a look.
Jack Lynn felt like he was going to get onto this. The two of them colliding. Back post run. But watch out here because Jack Lynn, he's hurting. He immediately motioned to the sideline.
And we've got another Notre Dame player down. It's Meyer again. Or is that? That is Meyer again down. So Lynn is off the pitch.
They're both off.
Yeah, Daniel Russo is subbed on. You see 11 white as Lynn limps around. Meyer is off. And Ethan O'Brien checked back in the match for him. And again, when you exit now, you can't come back in. They can still take pens if we go to pens, but they can't play in the game. Burns able to flick it back in to the midfield. O'Brien, padded yellow cleats, skipping through challenges, riding challenges. Pass a little heavy, McCartney keeps it in. He'll play a good ball in. Might fall to Giacobello, swing and a miss, but it's still loose. Russo. Pass was shorted. Dowd is well out of his line, well off his line to play it back to Ramsey. 4 minutes left. McCartney. What do you want?
Brian beside himself that didn't get out of the way there. He had a full path to goal here. If you could just communicate, this is where you're saying mine, leave it, anything, but you can't hear it in traffic. Annenbacher, a little touch out. There's the first one right here. Watch this. Oh, you got to move. Ethan O'Brien had all the space in front of him. Tried to side volley. Home player stepped in front.
And McNeil picks up the ball off the foot of Matt Rue. Clemson reeling a bit right now. Struggling on the ball. Now Justin Malou is down. A senior from Clemson. They're right back. He's struggling. See, Usman Sila comes back in the game for Brandon Parrish, but Malou is still down.
Number 21, Usman Sila. He replaces number 20, Brandon Parrish.
His left foot too. He's hurting here. Yeah.
And that right back spot is a challenging spot for them to fill in. Enrique Montana could be available. John Martin, who deputized, played a lot last year, I should say. Big minutes in big games. That team that went to the ACC tournament final and won that final has been unavailable most of the second half of the season. So we'll see what Mike Noonan does. If you are new to college soccer, the clock can't stop. We end at zeros, so the clock goes dead here at 2:52 as Malou receives treatment. I'm told we don't have an angle of what happened here with Malou. And now there's almost a de facto timeout as Mike Noonan's walking across the pitch. His team's running back, and he's giving some direction.
Just comes down a little funny on it. Into the left foot. Watch as he plants. There's not a lot on it. That's a non-contact. No pressure at all, trying to clear it. And immediately after that is when he went to ground. Pointed to it. George Marks came out, goalkeeper from Clemson, to check on him. Both teams have huddled up, and if you're Mike Noonan, this is not good. And that's the best way to describe it, because they don't move him regularly off the back line to take a breather. He's the only ones you pretty much pen into the lineup, and start to finish is always there.
On top of his importance in gameplay, with 2:52 to go on the clock for the senior from Senegal, third-team All-ACC, 27th draft pick by the Columbus Crew in last draft. He'll be moving on to the professional ranks. He also was a penalty taker for him. He took the penalty, the last one, the decisive one that sent them to this point.
Three of the boys in the back line did.
I know. Ogren, along with Malou, and Diop took penalties. So we'll see if he's able to check back in. He stopped right at the table, but with penalties looming, to not have him as one of your key guys would be important. But he took the decisive one that beat Oregon State and got them to this point. He looks ready to check back in. See if that's the case.
They haven't subbed.
No.
So they're at 9 right now. 10, carry the 1. There's the math.
I'm real slow. Let's just leave it at that. Indian and Abacus just for that. Falls to Pipe, over to Quinn. And yes, Malou's back on the pitch. Chifamba plays it back to Diop. Play it to Malou right away. He looks okay. Driven ball looking for Say. Might fall for Say. He scoops it. Almost got it over to Strobel. Say crowded out by 2. Balls though. Crossing opportunity overhead. Under 2:30.
He's still limping behind the scenes here, Justin Malou.
He's not 100%, but he's got to get through 2 more minutes of game action.
It's also not as pronounced as when he first went down, so that's a good sign for Mike Noonan.
When he stood up and put no pressure on it, whenever that happens, you're real worried.
As they knock these long balls up over the top, though, with Mohamed Say, I talked a couple of times about what this team has really transitioned to over the course of the season. Earlier in the year, you'd have 2 or 3 guys run onto them. That's not the case anymore. It's Say, and then if he can't hold it up, you're pretty much just saying, okay, we're willing to concede possession in that aspect. If he can win it, great. If not, they track back. Notre Dame has been able to really force their hand over here, though, because defensively, they just reset their line. They move quick in transition. And just like that, you've compressed this field into a 35, 40-yard gap.
Chifamba took that right into the midsection. And he's going to need a breather. Ooh.
Check the pregame meal.
Oh. Freshman Chifamba on the deck still. Good pedigree from the Columbus Crew Academy setup. He's trained with their first team, had some youth national team call-ups. He's up onto his feet. And here we go again. The long throw from about the same angle and same distance in the first overtime required a big save from George Marks. Can they generate something else again here? Frank back in the mixer. Fernando Salvador just boots it long. And Dowd's going to have to make a play on it. That wasn't a great one, but he's okay. He's sprinting back to his line. Sela on it. Notre Dame tries to transition back. Played well by Ramsey. The center back pulled out wide, making A on the ball.
1 minute remaining. 1 minute.
Agram. Clearance you're looking for. Rue is on it. Freshman's had a great campaign. He pull a rabbit out of the hat. Shot taken. Out harmlessly. 30 seconds left. Well, Notre Dame in the quarterfinal round of the ACC tournament went to the penalties against Louisville. Won 3-0. Brian Dowd making a couple big saves. One was missed wide. They took care of penalties against Pitt, 4-2 to get to this point. Clemson, 4-2 as well against Oregon State. And here we go again. Penalties will decide who is playing in the College Cup on Sunday, 2 Eastern here on ESPNU. Mike Noonan's team getting their lineup set. Chad Riley will do the same. Your thought, Deb?
First overtime series was definitely better for both teams. Notre Dame has been the better team at the conclusion of this match. But this is one of those things where tactics are gone now, right? This is just about mentality and who wants it. And it takes me back to something that Chad Riley said. We alluded to it at the beginning of this game. That North Carolina loss, when they gave up a couple of goals in the first 10 minutes, he looked and said, guys, I just want you to go compete. Right? That's what it's come down to now, and they did that in the overtime sequence. When you have a team that's lacking momentum, like a Clemson, you don't care. I mean, this is their second lease on life, so to say. Not that Notre Dame was that great, but they were definitely more threatening.
Yep.
Right? For all the possession that Clemson Tigers have had throughout this game, they have not created a lot on the offensive side of the ball. And funny enough, because Notre Dame, their goal came from a penalty.
Jack Lynn marked from the penalty in the 21st minute. That was their goal. We'll see if he can do it again here. Penalties coming up in the College Cup after this break. This first semifinal coming to a crescendo in penalties. 1-1 between Clemson and Notre Dame. A packed house here at WakeMed Soccer Park here at Salem Stadium. Over 10,000 are treated to a penalty kick shootout to determine who's moving forward to play either Washington or Georgetown in our second semifinal. But George Marks has been outstanding. He had issues early. He had treatment in the first half. We wondered if he's going to come off. Thank the Lord he didn't, because he's been outstanding.
Carries less than a goal against average over the course of the season. Shutouts in over 30% of his games, and you got the understanding as to why. He was only beaten tonight from the spot by Jack Lynn, and you can't undersell how hard these saves are to make, because it's a transition movement where you know that you've been beaten on the backside, so you have to account for both. Wins the save on the near post. It's the traffic in front of him. 6 bodies still able to react. For a guy that went down that early, and you thought, okay, they had another goalkeeper warming up to bring him off, to come back and put together that type of performance and be the leader that we've all known that he has been all season long. Got to commend him for his efforts.
He's been outstanding. Those last 2 saves you saw were in overtime. So here's your penalty kick rules. It's best of 5. If still tied, it goes sudden victory, 1 by 1. So we have somebody move forward. And this is interesting for Clemson coming off the bench. Hasn't touched the ball. John Martin will be your first kick taker. Now bear in mind, they just went to penalties last game. There's Isaiah Reed, Oscar Ogren, Hamidi Diop, and Justin Malou are the 4 kick takers. But Martin has not touched the ball, and he will take the first kick. Your thoughts?
That's a head scratcher, but that's also a guy that you probably look down at your bench and he has the experience, senior. He's been through these before. He's taken one in the past, and regardless of minutes or not, that means he's really consistent in practice. And he's also willing. He's got the confidence to step up and hit one.
Speaking of confidence, Brian Dowd, the keeper, has been outstanding. There's been 2 postseason shootouts for Notre Dame. One in the ACC tournament, one in the NCAA tournament. Opponents are 2-7 against Dowd. His team has gone 7 for 7 from the spot. All that is history, though. We are in the present, and John Martin is the first kick taker against Dowd. First touch of the day. Beautiful pen taken by Martin. The senior delivering when necessary. Local kid from Clemson, South Carolina, stepping up.
Take a bow. Picture perfect penalty. Just all the pace. Whip your hips down and pick out your corner and go. Well done, young man.
Well, Jack Lynn steps to the spot. He scored their goal in the 21st minute from the spot. He went low left of George Marks. A little bit of game theory here as you repeat it. And waved off by Alexic. Something was thrown onto the field. You see Nikola Alexic, the official, pulling it out.
Just over the goalkeeper's left shoulder. To be fair, the whistle was blown almost right as he hit the ball, so it's not like advantage either player.
Now it's the 3rd time you're going to see a pen from Lynn, and Marks guessed the same way that Lynn went the first time when he scored on him, and Lynn's now stretching his calf.
Marks pointed that way, by the way. He pointed to his right, almost asking him for it to hit it there.
If you remember in the Copa America this summer, Emilio Martinez in an empty stadium with Argentina, he was on one.
Yeah.
Doing a lot, pointing a lot, saying a lot, and was amazing too. Not sure Marks was recreating the same thing, but he had something to say in terms of his gestures.
You got to start. Well done here by Jack Lynn. I was just going to say, you got to start your motion over here. Pick up the ball, act on the same situation as before, walk up to it. You don't just want to leave it there and stand around.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask your cooperation in please refraining from throwing any object onto the playing surface.
TA announcement made here at Salem Soccer Stadium. Security will remove anybody lobbing something onto the pitch. So hopefully we go back to work here and be a clean PK taken. Question is it a goal or is it a miss? 31 goals in his career. This senior, 2-time first-team All-ACC player. Converts.
Same spot with even more conviction when he hits this thing. I mean, he goes right at this ball. He hit it on the same side last time out, but Jack Lynn, watch him drive through it this time. He's placed the previous 2. Not happening. On the laces, right through it with authority.
Luis Felipe Fernandez Salvador. Pipe, the goal scorer in this match for the Tigers. In the 11th minute, steps to the spot. Stepped up and made a penalty earlier in this tournament. In the 85th minute against Oregon State to get them equalized and eventually getting the penalties and winning. He stepped up with ice in his veins and knocked it down, and that's what Mike Noonan says. He has ice in his veins. Does that rear its head again here? Ooh, a little bit of change up there, off-speed pitch.
I'm with the goalkeeper too. If I'm down, I'm going to the left because the narrowness of this run as he comes so far to his own left, really difficult to close yourself off and not go to that bottom corner. But instead of trying to pull off the spectacular, just class. Right down the middle, send the goalkeeper wishing.
Patty Burns, the sophomore from Northern Ireland, steps up. He took a pen in their win against Pitt. Ooh, off the crossbar and in. So far the same order. They went Lynn Burns against Pitt. Clemson's already switched it up with their first kicker being Martin.
Easy, son. And this one almost gets away from him. He had a couple of words for George Marks, but Patty Burns, that sweet left foot of his, gets away with it.
Oscar Ogren now steps up. He nailed a PK in their 1-0 win over Denver in the first round of this tournament, or the first game for them in double OT. The junior, cool as you like. 3-2. Dawson McCartney making the try to the spot for the Irish. Transfer from Dartmouth. He's had an outstanding season here for the Irish. His final collegiate season. Converted his PK against Pitt as well. Oh, just sneaks it past Marks. These have been some very well-taken penalties.
There's only so much you can do if you're the goalkeeper, and for George Marks, guesses right, reads it. There's just enough power, and he's tucked this thing close enough. Doesn't hit it as well as he'd like, but it's further enough inside the goalpost for George Marks. It's going to take all 6'1" of that frame to get to it, and he's just short.
Amity Diop now strides to the spot. He scored in their Oregon State match as well. He scored a penalty earlier in the year. He's a great free kick taker. He did commit the penalty that allowed Lynn to get to the spot to equalize this game in the first half. This could be a bit of making amends if he can slot it home. Ooh. Sends down the wrong way.
Same spot that he went last time out. The exact same penalty that he hit. Left foot. I talked about closing the hips. Watch. Head up the entire way. Goalkeeper's looking to see if you show a tell at all. Does not show the hand. You don't have to hit it as hard as you want. Just pick your corner and go. Does it to perfection.
Philip Quinton. Again, the same order remains. And there's a save! It's Marks! He's been the hero so far this game. And now he's set up an opportunity for Justin Malou, a fellow senior, to step to the spot and send Clemson back to the College Cup final.
Quinton comes a little bit square on it. Doesn't get enough behind it, and to be fair, watch the goalkeeper, because he hits it well. This is really similar to the last penalty hit that was just inside by McCartney. And George Marks, you can't really ask any more of what he's been able to do tonight.
It's been a fairy tale season for Notre Dame. Picked last in their division. They win the conference tournament. They're at the College Cup. Can Brian Dowd save them? He can't! It's over! Justin Malou sends him to the final on Sunday! For the first time since 2015, Clemson will be playing for the national championship. And they'll have the opportunity to win for the first time since 1987.
For the guy that went down with about 5 minutes to go in a foot injury, no questions here, is it? The entire back line against Oregon State once again answers the call. Agren, Diop, and Justin Malou, their outside back, who's already got 1 foot in the door in MLS, but all he needs is his sweet right foot to finish this thing off and propel them into the championship game.
What a match. Clemson avenging the loss they suffered on their field to Notre Dame back in October, but the stakes much higher today as one team's season ended and one continues with the ultimate game of the season up next on Sunday. And Clemson will play the winner of Georgetown and Washington, the 2-3 game set up here in just about 30 minutes. We'll be back here on ESPNU to watch these two great teams do battle again. We hope it's as good a game, as intense a game as we just saw in the last 110 minutes. The joy of victory, the agony of defeat. Sports is the greatest human drama. Congratulations to Clemson and to Notre Dame on a fantastic season. The Tigers move forward. For Devin Kerr, I'm Dallin Cuff. Next, CFB, College Football 150, the greatest, presented by Xfinity. And then we'll get more football. We'll see you back here in 30 minutes. Georgetown, Washington, 30 minutes from now.